Gordon Levitt every time somebody says
30.
That.
No, not 30. I meant to say on the minute, but then I said 30, and I don't know why I did that.
Okay,
on the minute would have given us 2 seconds.
10. Yes, 10.
Right as I was about to clap the second time, thankfully it didn't show up on the recording at all. My cat splashed the water dish, and it almost fucked me up. It didn't. But
I kind of wish it did show up so I could just cut that out and then make like a ringtone for you out of it.
God, that would be an awful ring. I would be only for people that I hate, because it's really frustrating that he does it, because he gets water all over the floor in the kitchen. And there's nothing more I can do because I already got him a fountain.
You can get one of these like ceramic things that you can use them like a shower mats, and they just like soak up the water.
That's true. I could.
And then you wouldn't have to clean it. It'd splash, and then it just soak up and then disperse.
They do it because cats do it because they can't tell where the water is. Like sometimes they can't tell how far the water is from their face.
Mm-hmm. They put a paw into it.
Yeah. But he smacks the water for some reason instead of just putting a paw into it. And then he flicks it all over the floor. And it makes, when he does it like 5 or 10 times in a row, it's like someone spilled a whole cup of water in the kitchen and you have to go behind him with a towel.
Love it.
And I tried. We have a fountain that has like a motor in it. So it makes the surface of the water move, which is the thing that's supposed to help them, but he still does it.
I love it. Cats are the best. Did you see the video I sent?
I didn't. I haven't seen it yet. I will.
It is worth a look.
It's so cute.
Oh, it says page not found.
Yeah, you have to join the link. It wouldn't let me send the link as one thing.
Oh, I see. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah. It's worth it.
I'm sure. Oh my gosh, that's not ideal, computer. All right, we're gonna open a notepad because it doesn't seem to want to do it in the browser bar, address bar.
Whenever I have to open like something in Notepad, I'm hacking. I'm gonna write a bat file.
Exactly. You see the GIF. One of my favorite GIFs of
Hacker Man.
Yeah, when he's running through the store and it's like Statue of Liberty hacked.
That one, yeah.
Oh, my cat does that for sure.
Frank does to an extent, but not like that cat.
It's not quite as severe as this cat, but Buster does do this sometimes where I think it's because usually when he does it, it's not because he wants to be close to me. It's because he wants something, he smells something like on my neck and really wants to know what it is. So he like shoves his face underneath my beard to get to it. But it has the same effect, so I'll take it.
No, Frank does this thing where at night, if you have the light on in the bedroom, he'll just kind of hang out by your feet. But as soon as you turn the lights off, he'll like go to your face and then snuggle up in your neck until you fall asleep.
That's very cute. Buster does the opposite thing, which is when I have the light on and I'm reading something, he's like, no, that book is not me and I am what you should pay attention to. And he will use his paws and weight to push whatever I'm reading out of the way and then just sit on my chest and put his nose against my nose, like go completely nose to nose and just kind of sit like that until
that was sit on your chest. Yes.
Not shit. Okay. Not shit. That would be a bigger problem.
Yes. All right. I'm going to start streaming our silly little tiny video game podcast here. Let's. It is now live.
Oka got car sick yesterday.
Oh no.
And I felt very bad. I had to drive my partner to work because of the car stuff that now that we're streaming, I won't talk more about, but we decided to take Mocha because it was like Oh yeah, she likes riding in the car. She's liked riding the car before. She's gone on 3 car trips so far, 2 of which were under 20 minutes. Well, round trips, so round trip around 20 minutes. And so we got down to my partner's work, dropped her off, started heading back, and then at a stoplight right before I got on the highway, I started hearing the dog throw up noises in the back, and I was like, oh no. And thankfully I had a pee pad for in case she had an accident, so I was able to like quickly pull it in front of her face and then wrap it all up and put it on the floor. But it was like her entire breakfast was just like
Nice. Dog's lunch.
it's like, I'm very sorry, puppy. Too much motion.
Dogs.
Cats hurl a lot too, though, to be
Yeah.
fair.
Buster hardly never does, but most cats do. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Andre.
My friend's dad was driving their 2 big black lab Rottweiler mixes like out to the coast, which is like where they're going is like 2 hours from where they lived, and they were in the back of like their car, and they got super car sick because like the road from my town to the coast is super windy, especially once you get to the coast and are driving along it, super windy. And they both vomited all over the back of the car, just like
Awesome.
immense amounts.
Allison,
Could
you
not
seem to be
handle it.
loving this conversation.
Yeah. It's fun.
All right, let's dunk this sock in the toilet.
Yep.
All right.
Let's turn that fridge off and then forget to turn it back on.
Oh no.
Oh,
Not
gross.
again.
Hey,
Well,
Alex,
it
is your
happens.
fridge
That's
running?
right, I forgot.
Not on Wednesday.
Okay. Hello and welcome to a very merry episode 152 of the Gaming Fix podcast on December 19th, 2020. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite reindeer. I'm joined today by Allison.
Okay, so if we're looking at Rudolph's Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? If we're talking about like reindeer, do any of them have any like qualities other than Rudolph? Like qualities where you go, oh, my favorite reindeer is blank.
Hey, that's on you. It's for you to decide.
I think that they have some characterization in the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the movie. Like,
yeah.
I want to say Blitzen's an asshole.
I mean, aren't they all assholes though?
Kind of, but in different ways. Blitzen's like the jock asshole.
Okay.
Prancer's like the dancer asshole.
The
I think.
asshole.
Blitzen does machines.
I'll say somebody felt pity for Prancer always being second fiddle, and Prancer has her own movie.
Okay. Here's what I got.
Why?
Then we can revisit this. All right, we got Dasher. Guess what? He loves to go fast with a name like Dasher. Skill sewing. Dasher can sew. Dancer, personality trait completely extroverted. Skill all kinds of dance. Duh. Prancer, a bit vain though affectionate. Skill prancing. Vixen, slightly tricky. Skill magic.
What?
No, Vixen's skill should be all the other reindeers.
Comet, handsome and easygoing. Skill good with kids. Cupid, affectionate, bringing people together. Donner, loud, skill singing. Blitzen, fast as a bolt, and can electrify others.
What?
Is this like
I mean, it makes sense. Their name is Blitzen.
Rudolph, personality trait, a little down on himself, nose glows, of course. And Olive,
Of course.
Olive is like from Rudolph 2 or whatever.
Yeah, Olive's fake. That's a non-canonical reindeer.
It's like Venus, the Ninja Turtle girl.
Nope.
Personality trait, admits when she's wrong. Still good at hide and go seek.
If I recall, I've seen that movie at least once. She's got like mad imposter syndrome and is like very like, I don't belong here. I think it's funny that all of the reindeer have like traits that match their names except for Vixen and Comet, because you can't have the reindeers want to fuck.
Be like, yeah, like this is the hot reindeer.
This is the hot reindeer that makes everybody horny.
No,
you can't have that, and you can't have a reindeer whose skill is hurtling through the sky or hurtling through space and being a ball of ice.
Okay, you can't. But like, you can have one that can electrify other.
And apparently,
Blitzen does.
Apparently, one is just magic.
No, but you can have that. But you're saying that that's possible, but you can't have a Comet like space reindeer.
I mean, and they all fly, to Alex's point, but I think that like Comet would have to be able to fly in space.
Yeah.
I'm basically agreeing with you that they should have said Comet's special power is flying above the atmosphere. So he goes up there to scout when it's dangerous or something, when there's a hurricane or something like that.
He brings the presents to aliens.
Sure. And also they need to get over it. It's 2020. It's going to be 2021 soon. Let Vixen fuck.
Well, okay, wait. Here's
what I'm saying.
So, this is news to me. Santa's reindeer are typically portrayed as male in pop culture, but according to two professors at the University of Edinburgh, Santa's reindeer are actually all female. University go burr. Santa's reindeer are actually all female because male reindeer shed their antlers during the winter.
I don't think that the story is sophisticated enough to account for that biological detail. Also, reindeer can't fly, so
this is just biology.
You're ruining all of our dreams. Next, you're gonna say Santa isn't real.
I prefer to think of them as like all kinds of like across the spectrum, all kinds of gendered, and that's in my head canon.
All right. Like, wait, I got to roll this back. I got to apologize to the listener for this rude interruption by Pat and Alex, who were not introduced yet still spoke. Let's try again from the top. Hello, and welcome to a very merry episode of the Gaming Fix podcast. Episode 152 on December 19th, 2020. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite reindeer. Allison, well, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm not going to
Who's
get
your favorite reindeer?
The one that can set people, that electrocutes people.
Blitzen. You're a Blitzen.
Blitzen, yeah.
I
Blitzen.
see. Also joining us, Pat.
My favorite reindeer is Peppermint, which is a reindeer at the San Francisco Zoo.
Oh,
it's a real reindeer.
And
that's a cute name.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
I think you know exactly what I'm trying to say.
I don't. I know less now.
And Alex, who appears to be wearing some sort of N7 type situation here. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
Okay. Hey. Oh yeah! Wow! Twins. You're wearing the same. Are you wearing the same?
No,
I don't
jacket,
think so.
Sweatshirt.
I don't think so. Mine has a red thing on the inside.
Yeah, mine doesn't have a red thing.
Okay.
But so my favorite is Lightning, which it comes from the Elmo Saves Christmas Sesame Street special. It was it was the reindeer in training.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Chet from the Santa Claus 2.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Do we move to Final Fantasy characters? Lightning's good. She's up there.
Okay,
yeah,
what was the name of the dog that the Grinch dresses up as a reindeer?
Oh God.
Yeah,
Max?
I don't
Was it Max?
remember.
Grinch.
Max.
Yes.
Max.
Yeah.
I was just about
I thought
to
it
search.
was a weirder name than that.
I was just about to search a Grinch dog, but it's definitely Max.
Then you're gonna get that lady in the bathtub. Painted herself green.
My dog and cat earlier today were laying in bed, laying on each other. and it was really cute. And I should have known that that was going to be code for we're going to be complete nightmares for the rest of the morning.
Yeah.
Saving up their energy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now let's get on to games, because
Yeah.
boy, is there a lot of news later. Like,
Oh my god. This was a week.
it was mostly one thing, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope we don't talk about that for an hour. Sorry.
I mentioned this to Andre before, but I spent 20 minutes in the car explaining the news this week to my dad, and he doesn't play video games. I was just like, I need to get this out. I need to talk about this.
Yeah, I saw images of people getting text messages from their parents who do not follow the industry being like, so what about that thing we're going to talk about?
I usually talk to my mom about industry stuff because she finds it interesting, and I just, nope.
Oh, I specifically reached out to my family and I was like, listen, this stuff is happening.
Help me, please.
Yeah.
Well, let's help you, and let's talk about something fun instead. Maybe, I hope, with what you've been playing, Allison.
Yeah. So last weekend I was gone because I was watching too much of the Polygon stream, which we'll talk maybe a little bit briefly during the news. I don't know. But one of the things that they showed was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And I was like, yeah, God, I need to play that game. So I ended up buying it. And so I've put, I've put several hours into it so far. And that has been a really, really good time. I've been really, really enjoying it. I think I never finished the first Hyrule Warriors, but I put a decent amount of time into it. I think that this is a definite improvement, even if it doesn't necessarily have the fan service of the first Hyrule Warriors, where you're like all the different Zelda and like universes are colliding. This is just purely Breath of the Wild, but it does a really good job of integrating Breath of the Wild with the Hyrule Warriors, Dynasty Warriors type thing.
Like the Muso games?
Yeah. Because there's it really does a good job, I think, of integrating some of the gameplay too of it. Because for example, you can use the stuff like the
magnesis and the ice
the
powers
magnesis and the stasis and the bombs. Those are pretty, I feel like pretty extremely useful. So I'm using those pretty frequently. And I guess you learn this pretty early on. That's pretty much Zelda's entire moveset is various
the Sheikah Slate stuff.
Of the Sheikah Slate stuff. So
excuse me, if you're going to be like Seth Everman, it's pronounced Sheikah Slate.
It could be. I don't think anyone has ever actually spoken the words from in the game. So
that's a good video if you haven't watched it. It's the Did You Know Gaming of Zelda featuring Seth Everman as the narrator. Anyways, please continue, Allison.
Yeah, but then it also includes like you collect items through it that you can use to unlock stuff or use for cooking before a battle, which will increase your stats and things. So I think it really does a good job of kind of mixing and matching both the Muso Warriors feel with also Breath of the Wild in particular. So I've been really enjoying it. It's just generally a really good time. I never really played any of the Dynasty Warrior games before the first Hyrule Warriors, but they're very. If you haven't seen those games, it's basically the big gameplay that you do is you're on a battlefield and you're just fighting giant hordes of enemies. And it's very much a power fantasy, and it's very much kind of cathartic and fun to just like it's like weirdly chill too. It's hard. I feel like it's hard to describe, but I just have been really enjoying it a lot. And I feel like it integrates the elements so well that it's really fun, and I'd probably recommend it to most people who liked Breath of the Wild, which I know not everybody on this podcast did, which still is bananas to me.
Baffling.
That was like the most wildest moment of our
did either of you finish the game?
No, but like it's a big game.
Interesting.
It's a big
I'm gonna remember
game.
that. You're not allowed to like games that you haven't finished. That's gonna come up in 2 weeks.
I have.
Listen, I'm going to finish it
that game
because this covers some good story stuff because it's a prequel to Breath of the Wild, and it's also possibly going to tie into the second.
There's
the
something
sequel.
I want to say, but I can't say it, and I don't know for sure. It's just like because my girlfriend's been playing this, and I've played like an hour ish, but it's the Japanese version, and unlike many Nintendo games, this game does not have other voiceovers on the cart or in the Japanese version. Because it's not published by Nintendo, it's published by Koei Tecmo in Japan, whereas everywhere else is published by Nintendo. And Nintendo's like, we're going to put all the voice options in there, but not Koei Tecmo. So now I'm playing this game in Japanese, and like I can kind of glean what's going on, but there's a lot of reading in the menus, and I'm like, I have no idea.
There really is. Like that would be really hard, especially with some of the side activities and quests and stuff. But, so I feel it.
There's a thing I want to say. Maybe I'll message Alex just so I can tell him what I think it is.
Go for it, because I don't care.
Yeah.
But so I have a question, because it's a Musou game. Generally in Musou games, you're going through just billions of fodder enemies, and then hitting generals and stuff like that traditionally. So what are the fodder enemies? I can guess the general equivalents will be stuff like guardians, I guess.
Sometimes
it's moblins.
It really depends. Yeah, but it's a lot of moblins. Like it's just like it's a lot of.
You get the ninjas, like the Sheikah ninjas or whatever.
It's like a lot of the
Gorons, guards.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the lower level of enemies of Breath of the Wild. So it really kind of fits. Like there's when you get some of the higher level enemies, it kind of matches some of the things that are trickier to fight in Breath of the Wild. Like the first time a Lionel shows up, you're like, oh shit, and it's otherwise harder to kill in Age of Calamity. So it's it mostly matches that sort of thing. But the Guardians are like fucking hard to deal with too, but that makes sense.
From what I've seen, it's a little less and maybe this is incorrect, but in Dynasty Warriors there will be at times thousands of enemies like in the battle, not necessarily on screen at once, but I mean there's like just like a sea of them, and not every battle from what I've seen in Age of Calamity I mean, they're all bigger than what you would get in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit less. And there's certain times where, like, if you've, like, for example, fought your way up to one of like the top enemies on that particular map, it will be just that enemy. And there is a level of skill against some of those bigger enemies as well. Although I will say there are a couple of sequences that I don't want to spoil, especially for Pat.
Yeah, I have it on my Switch. I wanted to play it last night.
Yeah, but there are some sequences where they're like, listen, do you not feel like you're playing a Warriors game, but you probably don't feel powerful enough. We need to like up that. And
I think I know what you're talking about. This was actually something that sold me on the game. They talked about it on Waypoint Radio.
Oh, sure.
So but you're just like, we could talk about it later when I get there.
If you want to reach out to me personally, but there was like a moment where I was just like, okay, this is like,
if you've played Breath of the Wild and played the story, there's moments in this game that you
that
might
are
not
very
think they portray,
Oh, I know. What
but
you're
that are
talking
in
about.
the story of Breath of the Wild and are pretty fucking wild.
My girlfriend hates these parts.
really.
I guess she hates it. There are motion controls, gyro controls are part of it, and she didn't turn those off, and so she was like, "What the fuck? Why is this aiming shit?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I think you can. I think you've got motion controls on. You can turn those off." And then
I think
like
they
hated it less, but she always skipped those sections because it doesn't make you do them. You can skip them.
Interesting, but I just think it's you know it's I feel like there are two people who would want to come into this game, people who are either like the Muso games or people who really like Breath of the Wild, and I think there's enough to like in both for both of those. But at the same time, also, if you're the type of person who likes likes those games, so
For sure.
I would say if you're not into Muso games, if you were just like vehemently opposed, look for the story, like watch like a let's play or like a YouTube compilation of cutscenes.
Yeah, but if you're not vehemently opposed, though, if you're like, I feel like if you're like, you're curious about the Muso, but you've never really played it, it's still
you're Muso curious.
Muso curious, exactly.
I'm so horny.
God.
I enjoy playing. Like I have a good time whenever I play a Dynasty Warriors, but I also don't. I always fall off of them because while I think that the story is a fantastic story, like as a historical, like I would rather like read the book, I think, than to get the story, because I kind of lose track of the story when I'm like playing through a Dynasty Warriors game. Whereas with this game, I think I'll like that issue, that I won't have that issue because it's telling a less
it's like
story, I think.
Right. Well, and also like the Dynasty Warriors, like the Muso games, like they tell pretty intense like Chinese historical stories.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like, and it's like, and it's, there's all these characters that you're not necessarily familiar with, but people who were raised, knowing those characters might be a lot more familiar with, and you're just, but you're like, I don't know who any of you are.
It's a cultural thing, so I'm not at all faulting the game for it in any way. It's my problem, but it's hard for me to keep track of all the characters.
Yeah. And there's a lot of characters.
There's so many, and the names aren't immediately like approachable to me.
Whereas
so
here it's
like Lubu and Chow Chow. Those are like the two characters I know.
Also, like looking at like the Dynasty Warriors 9 Wikipedia page, there are a lot of characters in that game.
Yes,
like holy moly. Whereas Age of Calamity, it's like you're playing as Link, and you're like, okay, I understand here. I'm on board.
I mean, but even like early on, they give you like 3 choices, and you can switch between them in the thing.
Yeah.
Like you start off with Link and Impa, then you get Zelda, and then I think it kind of opens up and can
I mean, there's definitely other characters, but they're a lot more like, if you've played Zelda games, you're like, oh, of course, it's Link, it's Zelda, it's Impa, it's it's characters from Breath of the Wild, and you're like, okay, I know who all these are.
And they're visually distinct versus Dynasty Warriors. They do a great job doing their best to make each of the characters look unique, but at the end of the day, they're like,
it's a dude,
big guys, normal sized guys, ladies, and then big, huge, chubby guys. That's like those are the 4 character types.
The other thing too is like I feel like I haven't really played that much of like other Dynasty Warriors games, so I don't really know, but I feel like right away with Age of Calamity, Impa, Link, and Zelda all play pretty differently, so it kind of gets you used to playing with different like very different characters as opposed to.
They're certainly distinct in Dynasty Warriors games, but they're not like distinct. It's like this guy uses a spear and this lady uses a sword, and that feels very different. But it's more like switching weapons. It's not like you're playing distinctly different characters.
Right. Whereas like
when Calamity, they have like abilities and stuff.
So
right.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it's kind of more like a Monster Hunter, where it's just you're getting used to the different weapons more than the characters.
Even less than that, because it's just that like this time when you mash the attack button, it's a good sweeping attack, and this time it's better for taking out single people.
Sure.
You know, it's and I'm not really picking on that as a differentiator, and they have different combos and different special moves, so I'm not saying they're all the same, but I think there's more differentiation when you can put like magic and like the Sheikah Slate abilities and stuff in.
And all the Sheikah Slate abilities are different per character, so it really allows you to differentiate even further than just how the weapons feel.
Like playing a Link is like, okay, I'm Link. I swing my sword. I do my thing. I throw some bombs, and then you're like, I'm gonna switch to Impa, and then suddenly you're playing Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, and you've got like shadow clones, and you're just like disappearing and flying all over the place, and like throwing Rasengans, and
they do a great job differentiating characters in the Dynasty Warrior games, but you just can't go quite that far.
Yeah. So Allison, did you? I forget. You probably mentioned it, and I just glanced over it. But did you play the original Hyrule Warriors?
Yeah, I did. I played it both on Wii U and Switch. Wow,
a true fan.
And like, did that one just feel like more Musou game than Zelda?
I'd say so, probably. I feel like Age of Calamity does a lot better job of integrating everything, in my opinion. Nice. But it's like I haven't played the original Hyrule Warriors in a while, so it's.
That was also kind of like a
fresh,
greatest hits of Zelda kind of thing, wasn't it?
Story in it, I don't think.
So Age of Calamity.
I mean, there was definitely a story, but it was like a little bit more of like, hey, we got to go to the different Zelda universes.
So this game is more like the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers gif of them slapping each other's arms, being like, "Oh, you son of a bitch, Dylan!" Like, this is that game.
Yes, I will say that's what.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's. I feel like that's the thing that I think I'm the most impressed by is just how well it utilizes stuff like the Sheikah Slate abilities in the actual gameplay.
It's got all the shit that I wanted Breath of the Wild to have in terms of story. Like I wanted basically what this game has, but
there's a lot of fun like story character moments that are really entertaining too.
And in Breath of the Wild, you got like just like the tiniest glimpse of those things. Like you got like 10 like kind of cutscene things that went into that stuff. And I was like, I want more of this. And apparently they put it in a Musou game.
That's where we're at right now, but also there's a lot less I mean, with Breath of the Wild there's a lot of you're going around, you're collecting stuff individually, and you have to travel places, whereas here it's like you just click stuff on a map to go to different shops and go to the blacksmith and go to stuff, so you're really just going in between straight to story bits or straight to the next battle, which I think probably does that because it's just a lot more condensed down. But
is there any clear point of reference for how long the game is? Like, do you know how deep into it you are?
There's not a clear reference in game. I know that completing it, I know that the story is like 30-40 hours maybe.
I thought I heard like 20. Like how long to beat, like mainline.
Oh, like mainline. 20. Yeah. And I'm doing all the side stuff. So I think that's closer to like 30-40. Hyrule Warrior, like another thing is that the original Hyrule Warriors is like fucking longest game in the world. If you want to do pretty much everything. Whereas here it's less that, but I think that's a-okay because it's a little bit more streamlined. Yeah, I don't know where I'm at. Like I know that I'm doing like a lot of the characters, but they really like different stuff unlocks on the map as after you do it. So I'm like, I have no idea how much more stuff's going to unlock.
There is a surprising number of characters and a surprising like variety. And I'll see my girlfriend playing, and I'll be like, "Wait, you're playing? Who are you playing as? Who even is that?" Like they let you do that.
That's pretty cool though. Like, it sounds like for fans of the series, like it sounds like a really loving take on like the Breath of the Wild universe. Coming at it from a different angle, so that's neat.
It is a very purposeful game, and it seems
I would say that too. Where it's like
seems essential for Breath of the Wild too.
Like
based on what I've seen.
I'll have one last question. How fan servicey does it feel? Like, does it feel like it's actually trying to add to the lore, or does it feel like it's pandering?
I feel like it's actually trying to add to the lore.
Cool.
There is. One of the key parts of the game is a like baby guardian. So like taking the baby Yoda, but they're like baby guardian.
Oh, they upskirt the baby guardian.
Oh God.
God, no.
How's that for fan service, eh?
But it's extremely cute. So I'm like,
it makes R2D2 noises.
I'm like, it does.
Oh, that's why you love it so much.
It's like a little droid. It's so cute. It's so cute. So it's like, that's like a little bit like, I don't know if that might have been like a little bit more like the fan servicey thing, but I'm like, I don't care. It is adorable. I love it. So
fair enough.
But I feel like it's just, it integrates things well enough that it doesn't feel like, oh, okay, I see where you're doing it. It feels very thoughtful about what it's doing, which is nice.
It's cool.
Indeed. All right. Well, with that, let's move on to Alex and what you've been playing.
Sure. So the first thing is I am pretty near the end, I think, of a little game called Bugsnax. Like I'm at the point where I've been given the option of going on from where it says, hey, you have reached the point of no return. Do you want to do that? If you do, you can't come back. So I asked our group chat being like, so should I do this and come back and do all the side stuff? And Allison was pretty adamant about saying, no, you should do the side stuff. So I'm going and I'm doing the side stuff. I'm probably about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through doing all the side stuff. There's one character I really just don't care for, and I don't really want to do their side stuff.
Is it Scoopy Banoopy?
No, that is.
How dare you?
So
Scoopy Banoopy is a treasure.
I caught 2 Scoopy Banoopies. They're great.
Scoopy Banoopy.
But it's the.
That sounds like Game of the Year material.
Yes.
I forget the character's name. I have trouble remembering all their names, honestly. But except for Chandlo, because Chandlo. Filbo is one. Yep. What's the rancher dude? It starts with a Grambus.
Grumbus.
Something like that. But the one I don't like is like the meditating-y kind of sagey one.
Yeah. Have you done any of her side stuff at all?
No, because I find her annoying.
Okay, but I think hers is funny. It's like entertaining. But yeah. I don't know. I feel like she grows on me, but like that's specifically me. But
yeah, I'll get to it because I intend to do the side stuff, and it seems like you unlock other side stuff by doing other people's side stuff. So I imagine she'll be a key at some point. So I don't know. I imagine I have like 2 or 3 hours left of it. But it's been pretty interesting. I like what they're doing with the story. I like the progression. They do keep things interesting with the mechanics. Like they keep you doing new stuff, and like it's. I think you mentioned it like a couple of weeks ago, Allison, where it strikes the balance between, am I doing this right, or am I breaking the system to solve this puzzle? Like, is this how they intended for it to work, or did I just kind of cheese it? And
you're like, I don't know, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, but that's almost a good thing because it means you can approach things from different angles and they just work.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I've tried to solve, like if you want to think of catching Bugsnax as puzzles, I have solved the same puzzle in like 2 or 3 different ways in some cases, which has been cool.
Yeah, and there are a couple of times where you pick up some Bugsnax and you're like, guess I got them now.
Yeah, I did a boss fight, which took place in the water and had a boss that had 2 phases. One was in the water, one was flying above it.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about. And
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, came away with like 20 Bugsnax in my inventory because of...
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's
That's the boss fights. Yeah.
Yeah, you just come away with lots of stuff. And I will say, like, I'm enjoying pretty much everything about it except for the act of playing it. Because I find... Oh, sorry. Go for it.
No, I think the thing that you said in the group chat that I completely agreed with is that it wants precision out of you from a system that is not built for precision.
Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest issue for sure.
And it's not that big of an issue because the rest of it has been quite good and it's been fun and interesting. And like I said, it does change things up enough to where you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again. But like the fact that like there's no fast travel, so you're often just running to places, even if you have to go to the further ones. Like you're never having to run more than 2 zones away, as long as you go back to the center. But like it can just be like, oh, I'm just going to spend the next 5 minutes running to where I need to catch this one thing, and then I'm going back, and then it's like, oh, I should have got this next side quest because now I'm running back there. And it's like that kind of stuff has been a bit of a drag, but it's not enough to deter. Yeah, because the story has been interesting. The characters have been cool. Yeah, I don't know. I am reserving full judgment until I get to the end because it seems like they have set up a lot of lore, which is interesting. And it's like, okay, I have some ideas for where this might be going, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited here because Pat, you know,
it's so that story goes in a wild ass direction at the end.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And Pat, now that you're back, help me convince Alex that he needs to do Shelda's side quest stuff.
Hang on, I have to.
Shelda's the one who like meditates.
The meditating you one.
Oh yeah, that stuff is really funny.
Okay.
That might be the funniest of them. It's not
very funny, yeah.
It's not as deep as the other ones.
Yeah. From a character perspective,
funny.
But it's very entertaining to do the side quest stuff for her.
Yeah, I'll do her stuff because I was initially just not doing any of hers because I found her profoundly annoying.
You'll like the side stuff, I think, then, because it directly deals with how profoundly annoying she is. They are aware that she's profoundly annoying.
Okay, great. Okay, good to know.
The game is like 15% off, so it's like $21.49 on the Epic Game Store, and then there's a $10 coupon. So I guess I'm just gonna buy it because Sony won't give me a PS5. Won't even sell me one.
I'll tell you, it's kind of fun. It makes the triggers into like buttons, kind of like you halfway through the trigger pull. There's like some resistance, so you have to like click through it for like basically all of the trigger interactions. That's kind of fun. Other than that, there's no reason to
except it's free and I own it already, but I can only play it on the PS5, which is infuriating.
But I get to play it before Game of the Year. I can gift it to you.
I can like I have the money, but it's just the principle of the thing.
I get it. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Sony, what is you doing?
It's not even all Sony.
It's funny because
but
the decision to release it on PS Plus only on PlayStation 5 is all Sony.
Yeah,
that's like,
and their decision to only release like a pittance of PS5s in Japan is also on Sony.
But I guess I mean more from the software perspective. I think it's strange that they did they didn't need to sell the PS5. I mean, it was going to sell out no matter what. So it's odd to me that they made Bugsnax. No one's going to like go, I don't need a PS5 because Bugsnax is also going to be on PS4, PS Plus.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's stupid, but
anyway, it's a cool game.
I found
precision that you're
I
mentioning is
love
bad,
it.
but otherwise
Yeah.
it's great.
And
I
I feel like
did- sorry.
the gameplay. I feel like the gameplay gets better the more tools that you have at your disposal. But yeah, there are certain points where I'm like, I just couldn't execute certain things that I knew that I could, which is a little bit frustrating for sure.
Yeah, I think I told the story that was frustrating to me at some point, where I was like in an underground area and there was an aggressive snack that followed me down, and I was like, damn it, there's nothing for me to do here.
Yeah, because you can't exactly de-aggro them. They'll just keep following you forever.
Right, and I didn't have the ability to catch it down there because it needed to be combined with another Bugsnax to like pacify it. And so, yeah, it was frustrating. But I mean, at the end of the day, with all of that stuff in the rear view, I look back on that story and all the characters and stuff very fondly. So I think that like that stuff kind of, it can be frustrating, but I think it's at least interesting. I'd rather take frustrating and interesting than have that game have just been like a shooter.
Yeah.
Where you're, or like a game where you're just like sucking up Bugsnax with a vacuum or something.
Sure.
I think it's better that at least there are puzzles in it, even if they're sometimes a little frustrating, because sometimes it's really satisfying.
And I feel like sometimes the puzzles are really fun too.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, oh wait, if I get this snack on the catapult and then shoot them at this snack, then it makes this happen. That's fun.
Yeah, I did find a fun interaction once I had all the tools. I'll just say the tools. I don't think it's that much of a spoiler. One is the launch pad. So you can put the launch pad on the ground and then put the trip shot on it. So that way you don't have to worry about what surface you're on, because the trip shot will only attach to certain surfaces. So knowing you could do that made some things a lot easier. But yeah, like we were saying, the mechanics aren't the best part of that game, even though like what comes with those mechanics can be pretty rad.
Yeah, totally.
All right. And I see here on this document, you
I'm so excited to hear about this.
You started a game maybe you shouldn't have.
Yeah, so there's a series I've had a lot of familiarity with over the years, but I've never actually played one of the games because they've been too intimidating. And I started this one and immediately realized they were like kind of referencing lore things that must have happened like 5 to 10 games ago. Like just,
oh no,
there'll be characters coming up.
Trails in the sky.
Microsoft Flight
Trails of Cold
Simulator.
Steel.
No, I wish that you could keep guessing. You'll get there. No, you actually probably won't get there, but that's okay.
Dot
It's a
hat.
visual novel. It's a visual novel. It's a visual
It is
novel.
not a visual novel.
Really? Wow.
Nope.
Final Fantasy 14.
I started that a while ago.
So what is it? What is it?
It is Touhou, and
Oh god.
no.
it is. It just came out.
no.
It just came out on Switch
Why?
a couple days ago.
Why? Oh,
Touhou
God,
Luna Nights, and I gotta say,
I would not have guessed that, I have to say.
yeah, and there's a lot of lore where they're just like characters that have been like, oh, you're here, but is it the real you or like the imitation you? I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And then they're talking about like, oh, we're all part of this other character's game, and I'm like, what? What does that mean? Like, they're just saying all these things really casually. At this point, I'm just going along with it. I was thinking, do I need to go back and play all of like the other 30 games to understand what's going on here? But then just settled on, no, let's just roll with it and see what happens. So Touhou traditionally is just straight up bullet hells for the most part.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
arcadey top-down shooters or side-scrolling depending on the game, where you're just avoiding lots of shots. But this game is a Metroidvania, and it is fucking amazing. Like, I'm not kidding. This game kicks hell of ass. It's, in terms of style, it looks a lot like Symphony of the Night in terms of just like the visuals and the animations and stuff like that. And it has a lot of that kind of lineage there. But it has the core mechanic, which it's not a spoiler, you get this within the first 5 minutes, of
You
time.
can spoil this game all you want, IMO.
It's got a really intense time manipulation mechanic, where if I'm playing it on Switch, so if you hold the B button, it slows down time for 3 seconds. So like everything around you is slowed, all the enemies, all of the movements in the world. So like it uses that for some puzzles and stuff like that. But also you can use it to like jump behind groups of enemies. And then there's the other time mechanic that I have so far where you can just stop time, and then you have a counter on the top where you can eventually like upgrade it over time, but you start with 100, and then like every movement you make pulls away from that counter. So every time you attack, every time you jump, every time you do whatever, it pulls away from that counter rather than using any other metric. And so what you can do is you can pause time and then just like throw a billion blades at one enemy and then resume time, and they'll all shoot out at once. And it's really satisfying. Like it's really cool. It also has some like Burnout Paradise to it, or Burnout 3, where so hear me out.
Like what?
So hear me out. Like, you know how in those games you would get extra like style points for doing near misses and stuff like that? Like if you like almost clip another car, but you just make it past, and like it'll be like, oh yeah, here's an extra couple points for you, you get boost or whatever. It has that where if you narrowly avoid like contact with an enemy, it will give you extra HP and stuff, and MP, because your powers do use like MP power. So like you're trying to kind of get close quarters with the enemies and the projectiles enough so that you're refilling your HP and MP. Then you're freezing time and shooting like a billion knives out at them. And then like it does this thing where the mechanic where if you freeze time, all of the water freezes, which includes like how it's splashing and stuff like that. So like you can use that for platforming. It's really, really fucking good. I finished the first boss last night, which was hard because it's a Touhou game, and it's just extremely satisfying. It's maybe the most satisfying side-scrolling platformer in terms of mechanics I've played since Celeste, and I really, really am enjoying it. Like I ended up, it was a mistake playing it last night for 2 reasons. 1, because I was considering getting into the lore, but I decided against it. And 2, because I couldn't stop playing it, and then I went to bed at like 1 a.m. So I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, and it's really amazing. Like the mechanics make it just insanely good. You all are speechless. All right.
A little bit, honestly.
The store page looks cool. It's very beloved on Steam.
Yeah, it's like overwhelmingly positive on Steam, I think.
Yeah, won 2019 Indie Play Best Overseas Game.
Yep, it's gotten a couple Game of the Year awards. I saw Video Chums gave it their Indie Game of the Year. Like, it's really impressive. I think it's a super interesting game, and it's actually a good Metroidvania. Like the skills you get are kind of cool.
That's cool.
So, yeah,
That's neat.
Yeah, I have 0 complaints about it so far. Yes, it's hard, but also it has this other thing where you're picking up, like, you destroy enemies and then you pick up like different jewels. They drop different colored gems or whatever, like some are sapphires or rubies or whatever. And you can either trade those in a shop for like other items that you can pull out in battle at any time, or you can keep them in your inventory and they'll give you like +1 or plus 0.25 defense for every one of these you have, or something like that. So it's a trade-off of if you want to get the item or if you want to keep them in your inventory as like extra stats, which is like, it's just a bunch of really fucking amazing ideas that they turned into a really fun game. It's mind-blowingly good so far. It's weird.
It's really intimidating. I don't think I could, my brain doesn't work in such a way where I could bring myself to play this game without playing the other ones. And
right?
I don't know that I'm ever going to do that. So
I know.
Honestly, yeah, probably best. Yeah.
That's why I decided to just roll with it, because there's a lot.
I admire that. I was able to do that for Yakuza. I don't think I could do that. I don't know if I could do that for this game because of how complex the lore is. And so I'm glad that someone is playing it, I guess, because it's a lot.
Yeah, I can't sing the praises for it enough. It's been really great. And I'll be over the break next week, because I'm on break from work. I will be going to visit my folks because I've been doing a 10-day quarantine, and I will only be bringing my Switch. So this is one of the games I'll be trying to finish on that trip, and then the other will be Super Mario, Paper Mario rather.
Yay!
So, yeah, I'll probably have completed thoughts on this game once we get there. But yeah, super
Godspeed.
I if y'all like platformers and Metroidvanias, I recommend it.
I like Metroidvanias. I've never gotten into Touhou because I don't like the character designs and I don't like top-down shooters that much. I respect them a great deal, but I'm not crazy about playing them.
Yeah, and this is not a top-down shooter.
Yeah.
Just wait, is that this? So this publisher put out another. It's not the same developer, so it doesn't matter. Never mind. Okay. Don't worry about it. All right. Well, thanks for that journey. That was not where I thought we were going with this.
I was,
No worries.
Oh well, it's 2019 game, so don't have to think about it.
It's a 2019 game in Asia. It's a 2020 game in North America.
It was 2019 game on Steam, so
it was also early access on Steam. So
God.
The 1.0 came out in 2020.
not according to the Steam release date, which is what we read by.
Wait, I don't. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah. Steam updates the release date for games that were early access. I'm pretty sure on Steam it was out February 1.0 was February 25th, 2019.
Because Hades says September 17th, 2020.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to double check, but that's what I was reading.
All right, well, we'll check. All right. Well, Pat, you're back.
Yes.
From a dump in the dark.
I wish that the dump in the dark had occurred, but
You're talking about your dog.
Your dog.
I'm talking about my dog.
Oh, I was talking about you.
She's having a complete meltdown and running around the living room because she wants to run into the bedroom and attack with love my partner who is asleep. So
well,
fun times.
In the meantime, what have you been playing? What's up?
I played a lot of video games this week, but it doesn't feel like I played a lot of video games, and it's not because of anything wrong with the video games. It's just been a long week.
You play like time wise, you played a lot, or you played like many games?
No, it's like time wise.
Okay, yeah, I know the feeling. I know, but
it was a crazy week, so I don't feel like I accomplished as much as I would have liked to in video games.
Sure,
but I started playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is awesome. I won't go into long detail about it because I know you've talked about it before, Andre, and there's a good chance we'll talk about it more as I play more of it. But I think that game rules from what I've played so far. Definitely not for everyone because it's clearly one of those. It's clearly like a Witcher type, big open world, tons of shit to do.
If you were, for say, someone who hasn't played an Assassin's Creed game since Assassin's Creed 2, is this a point you could jump in, or is there just too much lore bullshit that it's like
no? Any of the three games in this sort of like ancient trilogy is what it's kind of referred to as, you can get into.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the lore stuff that Pat particularly likes, is just it's so there's not too much of it, so that if you're very specific,
you could read
right
summary and go,
or you could just ignore it
if you really want. Yeah, you don't have to.
It would be fine.
Fair enough.
A summary will probably make you go, wait, what? Because some of it is so wild that just reading the sentence doesn't make a lot of sense.
You could watch a YouTube compilation.
Yeah, but the games themselves don't really dig. I mean, they do. Like Odyssey has a lot of the wider lore stuff built into it, but at the same time, you can appreciate it without actually having played any of the other games, I think. Particularly like the ancient, like the story of Cassandra has, who is the canonical character, is so self-contained that you kind of like, so much so that like you have quests in your log, and there's quests for like finishing her story, and then there's the quest for like the meta stuff that happens. And they're kind of two separate things. Origins is even less connected to the main meta line of stuff. Like the meta in Origins is purely just,
But that's connected to the movie.
well, I mean, the character that you play as in these games, the like modern day character, is connected to a character from the movie. And Origins really, they just use the meta narrative to introduce the new character. It doesn't really tell you that much. I mean, you learn about her and who she is, but it doesn't really advance the meta plot that much.
So, okay, is it how ludicrous is it? Like, is it approaching Kingdom Hearts levels of ludicrosity in terms of just
Odyssey
how much lore
totally
stuff?
does.
Okay, great.
Odyssey
Wonderful.
totally does. It's especially the Fate of Atlantis DLC goes. It's very wild. It's very cool if you're into Assassin's Creed, but it's it's something. It's also huge, but then Valhalla though so far, literally, I haven't been out of the Animus at all. I don't even think. I think it like started with Layla, the character, being like, all right, we're going to 9th century Norway.
Does she have
Or
one
no, that's
eye
right.
and
It
just purple
starts.
hair?
It starts and has a really cool like intro sequence that's kind of like Sony Prestige style-y,
Yeah.
where you're a child and like bad shit happens to set up who Eivor is, and then it like the Animus bugs out because it's like, is Eivor a boy or a girl? And then they talk about like, oh, we need to sync this, get it all synced up, and go fast forward to a time when the timelines are when the DNA strands are more tightly synced. And then you fast forward, and then they haven't butt in again at all. I haven't left Norway yet, but none of the modern day characters have talked.
Yeah.
Since then.
Well, once you leave Norway, I believe that's when you'll get like out of the Animus for the first time.
Yeah.
I have played a lot. I don't know how much more I have played, but I've done like
way more than me, I'm sure.
Yeah. So like you're going through like discrete areas and you're like building alliances, kind of like how in The Witcher 3 you do like, oh, I'm going to go here and I'm going to do the Bloody Baron arc. And then I'm like, these sections aren't as long, but it's a similar thing. We're like, I'm going to an area, I'm doing the quests in that area, and then I'm moving on. And they break it up like that. And I've done, it's like 3 of those. I've done like 3 of those arcs. And they've all got their own thing going on, their own story. And none of them have like played out the exact same way. Like where I've had like some RPGs, which like like Ni no Kuni did this, where like every single zone was like the exact same thing.
Right.
And that's like a very different game, but it was like the story played out the exact same way, and it was very frustrating. Here, like the stories you're doing and the stories they're telling, the way you're going about the quests and the solving them and the politics at play are all very different, which is nice to see and refreshing, and makes it not so like tiresome to like go to all these new areas and like, oh well, I'm level like 120, but this zone's like level 50, but it still feels like there's value going there.
Yeah,
because
I really like so far. I think the characters are really interesting, and they do a great job of making these characters feel like people in a way that they haven't done for me in an Assassin's Creed for a while. Not to say that Origins and Odyssey doesn't have great characters. Cassandra's an amazing character, but she feels like Ezio in the way that they feel larger than life, and she's supposed to, because she is. And there's like, I mean, it's not really a spoiler to say that like Cassandra is of the line of the ancients. You learn that pretty early in that game, and like that's the whole thing is like she is a person, but she's like also half ancient. So she's like sort of a demigod in a way, and that's why she can do things like jump off a building and not take any damage. And in this game, Eivor and all the characters around them feel to me a little more like people, I guess. still people in a movie, not like not like your neighbor, but
I think as you Eivor becomes a bit more boisterous and like becomes a bit more flamboyant as the game goes on and gains confidence. But like early on, it's very much like very more grounded.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's bad for them. I'm playing as the like let the animus decide the character's gender.
And it like switches randomly, doesn't it?
Not randomly.
It's not random,
sorry,
and
not
it's
random.
also not you like I've put like I think around 10 hours into the game probably. I'm playing real slow. I'm not like worried about finishing it before game of the year, so I'm just playing it at my pace. And she's not changed from being Lady Eivor at all.
Very frustrating for me because I have seen the change. I have seen the change and I've changed back, and I need Pat to get to the point. I need Pat to see it.
Well,
to experience it.
It's my primary game to play over the course of the holiday break before we do Game of the Year. So I intend to have played most, if not all of it, by that time.
Because there, like it actually gave me like a holy shit, what am I okay when I got to the moments like wait, excuse
Yeah.
So
that was cool.
Are there still Assassin's Guilds and Abstergo and stuff like that, or
Yes.
Yes. And I don't, it's very early. I don't want to get into too many details because I think it's a cool thing, but I definitely early on, if you're particularly into the first few Assassin's Creed games,
sure,
there was a thing early on that I was like, huh, okay, this is very cool. I wasn't expecting this.
They rip Altair and Ezio out from their
not
graves.
Not quite. Technically, they wouldn't have been
the way
born
that
yet.
you say that makes me think,
It takes place in like 872, and so it's before either of them would have been born.
Listen,
Fair enough.
time travel,
that response is not really a Valhalla related response. It's more of an Odyssey related response. But
oh god, okay, I need to get back to Odyssey. Holy shit!
If anyone on the show who liked Odyssey should finish Odyssey.
God.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I like the other quick hit stuff is I like the way that the combat in Valhalla feels as compared to Odyssey. It's not quite Souls combat in terms of its like complexity and difficulty, but it's much heavier. It feels like a totally different game than Odyssey. Odyssey feels more like Spider-Man combat kind of because it's so fast and you're kind of whipping around and doing counters and stuff. Whereas Valhalla is more like, and I'm playing it on hard, which has an effect, but it's like, I need to be blocking because this guy will kill me if they hit me twice.
Is it closer to like a God of War 2018 kind of feel?
Closer. It's not as good as God of War's combat.
Okay.
It's still probably the weakest part of the game, but it's not as... It's just a different feel. And when I say that, I don't mean that it's bad. It's just, it's not on the level with like a Souls game or God of War, but it's definitely... I like it more. I like it about as much as I think I like the combat in The Witcher. So if you're like a Witcher 3 fan, I think this holds up. In some ways, it's more interesting to me because you get more tools as you play than you do in The Witcher. So
cool.
You kind of have access to more. This game has a crazy like Path of Exile style skill tree.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's wild. It's not as big as Path of Exile, but it's like it's big though.
Because Path of Exiles is like insanely big.
I'm gonna drop it in our chat real quick because I have one on hand. But
it looks bigger than it is.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of empty space.
But still,
it's compared to what was in like Odyssey and Origins.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
it's big. If you look at Odyssey and Origins is a little bit closer to this, but Odyssey is pretty. It's like more like Diablo 2 style skill trees. It's like 3 their thing now is there's always combat, stealth, and ranged, and that's what the different colors on it mean. But what's cool in this game, and this was less true of Odyssey, is as you go down like the stealth tree, for example, you still get like passive boosts to weapon damage and stuff like that. So you can spec in a, just because you're going down the stealth tree doesn't mean that like, oh, well, I'm not getting any kind of boost for when I inevitably have to fight people, because you can't just stealth the whole game. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And you can also respec your skill points at any time for free. You just push the button and it refunds all your points, which is very good, because so you can't screw it up, which is my biggest struggle with skill trees like this, is like, oh no, I put 5 points in this direction when I started and that sucks. So yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking the way gear works. There's basically like kind of no trash in that you can upgrade everything, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't have like, you're not like picking up tons of common items and then junking them. It's like like you do in Odyssey. It's more like Dark Souls loot kind of, in that like I've only picked up like 3 weapons so far, and I could upgrade all of them using materials to be better. I don't think I even have a way to get rid of them. I'm sure there must be at some point a way to lose them, but I don't know. It's cool so far. I'm liking it.
Yeah, it's I'm enjoying my time with it and intend to keep playing it.
Yeah, so there was that, and then the last thing I'll touch on kind of quickly so we can move to news, maybe.
Our giant news pile.
Yeah. The Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Battle Pass started this week, which I'm really liking. I actually like the stuff in this Battle Pass more than any single Battle Pass that Modern Warfare had. It has really good stuff in it. Now, having played a fair amount of the Cold War multiplayer, I don't particularly want to go back to Modern Warfare, not because I think it's necessarily better. It's just so different that I'm kind of like, okay. And different in the League and Dota way, where if you look at it, it looks the same, but when you play it, the movement feels different, the shooting feels different.
Sure, the moment to moment.
Yeah, and so my friends and I are pretty like on Cold War now, and this year what they've done, which in my opinion, this is awesome. If you purchase the Battle Pass in Warzone or Cold War, first of all, everything in it can be used in Warzone specifically. It cannot be used in Modern Warfare. However, if you play Modern Warfare multiplayer, you can level it up by gaining experience and playing games. So it's the kind of thing where if you want the content for Warzone, but you don't want to buy or play Cold War, you can continue to play Modern Warfare to level up the Battle Pass. And people have started a campaign claiming that because it's the content in it doesn't work in Modern Warfare's multiplayer, that Treyarch is breaking the law and that they should get like, I guess, sued. But what these people want is not like refunds or like better labeling. It seems to be that they just want them to put the content into Modern Warfare's base multiplayer and like just like put new guns and stuff into Modern Warfare and keep supporting Modern Warfare.
Is Modern Warfare just done, or is there no more like Battle Pass?
More content being added.
Okay.
So basically it's done. It's just,
I mean,
like,
people play that game for years.
Yeah, and they should. It's a great game. You know, I think you can make an argument that it's better than Cold War for sure. But it's just been the wildest thing to watch people have these meltdowns. And when you combine it with now, if you like the SBMM thing, which stands for skill-based matchmaking, which has been in pretty much every video game for the last 20 years.
Yep.
because it was publicized as being part of Modern Warfare, and Infinity Ward was kind of out there like, hey, we've developed a really strong skill-based matchmaking system, and that's why we don't have a ranked mode. That's also in Cold War, and it works really, really well. My friends and I played, I don't know, probably 20 games last night. Maybe we played for like 3 hours. And in that time, so we probably didn't play that many games, but it was like 10 at least. You know, we had like 2 games where we kind of got smashed, and then the rest of the time were like close or games that we did really well. It was a lot of fun. Good ratio of like good games to bad games.
Sure.
But like people will, if I said that to somebody on the internet right now, their response would be, well, post your KD. And then if I showed them that my kill death ratio was around like 1.2, I think they would be like, yeah, it's because you suck. That's why. Because you're a shitty player, so you get good games, because that's the system's designed to keep you playing and spending money. But since I go 5, we have a KD of 5 sometimes, they make me play esports pros, and I can't play it with my friends anymore and have fun. It's like
sounds exhausting. I have to say.
It's
oh my
so
God.
exhausting. It's insane.
It makes it sound like the same people who, in League or Dota, make Smurf accounts. You know,
Yes.
like to game the
Oh,
system,
God.
and they're like, yeah, this is the way you should play it because now I can stomp all the time. Ha ha ha.
Their demand is that they remove skill-based matchmaking and make a ranked mode.
That's wild.
So that people can play ranked mode.
You should have a ranked mode, but that doesn't mean you should get. Well, wait, ranked is skill-based matchmaking. Wow, whatever.
But okay, so the reasoning I've seen is they like if they don't want to be sweaty, you know, if they just want to like take it easy, they can go into casuals. If they want to like be on top of their shit and be like, you know, try hard, then go to rank mode.
But the issue is what they want is for players like me, if they put in a rank mode, I'm not going to play it because I don't want to play with people going. I mean, I play with 2 friends, so I don't want to get two randoms who are going to scream at us about like ruining their rank.
Yeah.
So what they want is for players like us to continue to play in unranked mode so that they can jump into unranked and then smoke us and like hang out with their friends and have a fun casual time getting like 400 kills against and making it not fun for us.
but that would also have like skill-based matchmaking, so like eventually if you played it enough it would level out. But my favorite thing is people will point to like games in the past, like Halo 2 is a favorite that people point to. They had rank mode, they had casual mode, but both modes use the same skill-based matchmaking system. It was only the ranked mode just put your rank like out there for people to see.
Yep. It's absurd and like just silly. Like I don't know. And the thing they always say is like, well, you clearly don't want to strive. That's what it is. Because since you like skill-based matchmaking, you don't want to try to achieve things in life. It says a lot about you as a person.
I'm so glad that I don't play these kinds of games. It sounds like the least fun.
So you can ignore all this stuff. I just see it because my friends and I are masochists and like to read all of the garbage.
I mean, listen, I'm a masochist too when it comes to internet garbage.
Yeah,
so
we could be playing it and never even interacting. Like you could definitely play this game and not even know what SBMM stands for because if you just play the game, it's nobody talks about it in game. But it's and you can just turn off. Actually, I wouldn't know if people talk about it in the game because I have all chat turned off.
That seems like the way to play.
But it's insane. I will say to close it out, they also put prop hunt back in, prop hunt is a lot of fun, and we're really hoping that they just keep it in all the time because it's extremely funny.
If you want to play more of it, download Gary's mod because it's been there forever.
But I want to play it. I want to play it while it's also leveling up my battle pass.
True, fair.
Which is very nice that you still get XP for doing it, and leveling up weapons because even though they give you like a stock weapon and everyone has the same weapon, you get level up points for the weapon when you experience points for the weapon when you kill the props.
Sure. And for those who don't know what prop hunt is, it's basically, imagine you're on a multiplayer map or any map, and you know how there's like boxes of Chinese food that are there, of takeout boxes, and then there's like lamps and all this stuff,
ladders,
just like
and
like random, all the random junk that has physics on it that like fall around if you shoot it and stuff.
Right, but it's not normally aimed at being part of the gameplay. It's just more of like set dressing.
Right, set dressing, exactly. And what there is a team of hiders and a team of seekers, essentially. And the hiders hide themselves as some kind of prop, as some kind of thing, as the set dressing, and then hides among all the other ones, and the other team has to find them.
Okay, that's fun.
It's really fun.
It is.
And the way that they do it in Cold War is when you're on the prop team, you start as a prop, and then you have the ability to change to a different prop 2 times in the round, and you have a stun grenade you can drop to give yourself a little bit of like separation if someone finds you. And then you have some controls for like locking yourself in place and stuff if you hold the left mouse button down. And then every, I want to say it's 20 seconds, each prop whistles so that the other team can like kind of try to figure out where they are on the map by following the whistle. And so then, yeah, you once someone finds you, you have to sprint away. So like I was sprinting through a field as a pallet of cocaine last night on one of the maps with someone firing an AK-47 at me. It's also, and it's the funniest thing to watch.
Yeah,
it's so good. And because of the range of maps, like that was the drug base map, and then there's also, they put a shopping mall in the new season, so there's like a shopping mall map, and you're running around the shopping mall map is like a child like riding toy, or an arcade cabinet, or like a wet floor sign is probably my favorite prop on the shopping mall map. And it's really, really good. And hopefully it stays in forever.
What if they put prop hunt in like a Tony Hawk game, and then you had to like hide around as like a park bench, or
and they had to grind you,
or like a fire hydrant or whatever. Yeah,
you have to grind on the props.
Yeah, or grind or stall, or kick flip over.
So the only reason I think it would be tough, and it's sort of tough in Cold War, and this is why I don't know that they will keep it in forever. If you know the maps really well, you can go, there's not supposed to be a wet floor sign there, and then it's pretty easy to find the people.
This floor ain't wet.
It's hard to make yourself inconspicuous if you're playing against people who know the maps super well.
That's what made it really hard with randos in Gary's mod. It's because people just they played it so much they memorized the maps.
Yeah. I think what they should have done is done 2 maps per week in Cold War prop hunt, so that you have to play 2 new maps every week. And then probably by the end of the week, there would be people who just play prop hunt and they like memorize it, but then it'll roll over. So it never turns into that issue. Instead, they just put all the maps in the hopper, so you can get any map.
Man,
anyway,
that just reminds me, there's a news story we didn't add to the list.
No,
surprisingly, given it's a long news story, or long
Gary's mod 2. No, it's
Gary's mod 2.0 baby. No, it's like, speaking of other Gary's mods, like there's Murder, which is really good, which is basically, it's kind of a hidden role game in a manner of speaking, where you have a murderer who's hiding their role and they can kill the other people, and then there's other people that have specific abilities, whatever. And then there's also Trouble in Terrorist Town, which is very similar, if you've ever heard of any of these, where there are defectors or bad guys among them and among us, you could say. And
what
like,
who would say such a thing?
Then there's like, again, they have like specific abilities. Like there's one called the Jester, where if if the Jester tries to act not innocent or guilty or whatever, and they get killed, they actually win the game, because they want to be killed, and for people to suspect them. But if you act too suspicious, and they'll be like, oh, don't kill that guy, they're the Jester, like that kind of stuff. And there's like a bunch of different roles like that. Anyways, the news is Fortnite is bringing a mode in that looks very much like Among Us or Trouble in Terrorist Town, like almost 1-to-1 copy of Among Us. But anyways,
when has Fortnite ever
I would never make us talk about Fortnite, but I would make us talk about Dark Souls 3, wherein there and other Dark Souls games have a spell called Camouflage.
Oh yeah,
which will turn you into a random object from the area you're in.
Oh, you don't pick the object?
No, it just turns but it is context appropriate, so you won't turn into like a something that isn't from the place you're in.
Sure.
And so I got invaded once in like a library, and this person was running around. It's like, I have no healing items. I've got like low health. I'm just trying to get through here. I know where I need to go, but this person is just going to like try and snipe me or something. So I just went into like a safe room where I knew they couldn't see me from anywhere else. And I just turned into a chair and like, I watched them run by and like run out.
That's great.
And just run around. I'm just going to wait you out. I'm just going to wait here.
That's the super satisfying thing about these is like you definitely. I had a game last night where I made myself into like a traffic cone, and I placed myself such that I just blended in, and someone ran around me and they shot all the objects around me, but not me.
That's the best.
And I just sat there and on voice chat, of course, with friends. I mean, I don't know that I would enjoy this as much if I was playing solo queue, but with friends, I was just like, we were all just like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, I love that stuff.
That sounds fun.
All right. Well, I would share what I've been playing, but we're about to talk a whole lot about
my God.
in the news. I continue to play Cyberpunk, but I'll come back when I've got more thoughts, maybe next week when there's less news about it.
Cause like, what a week.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
What a season.
I would vote
what a season.
I don't think we need to go down every single bullet point.
No, I think
I think we do, because
Okay.
it's maybe
You can
one of the
start,
most.
and
I think
I'll
it's one of the
step
most
away from
momentous new. Like it's insane. Like yes,
I don't-
it's
It was
it's
like
the
following
discourse.
it was wild.
The
I
discourse has been exhausting, but like I think it does need to be talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it away then. I'll let you all talk about it because I'm cyberpunked out.
I mean, I honestly don't blame you. I mean, it's been
It's been exhausting.
It's been a wild week, and like just for context for people who are listening, we have a Google Doc where we keep all of our notes for each episode, right? And one of them is the news. The specific list of Cyberpunk is maybe like
it's a page.
It's like a page on Google Docs.
Yeah, it's roughly the length.
Single spaced.
It's like the length of our normal news
section just for this one bullet point, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, that doesn't mean it'll take as long as our normal news section.
No.
Otherwise,
Yeah, because it has a lot more of the like details in there than we normally have. But man, what a week!
It was
What
nuts.
a week.
Okay, let's jump into it, then reflect on it, because my God.
So, was it last week? Cyberpunk 2077 came out.
Yep.
And people went, "Hey, this like PS4 and Xbox version, and the PC version to some extent, it's kind of fucked, isn't it?"
Well, even if you go one step before that, there was the reviews that came up before the release, and they're like, okay, we're specifically giving you the PC version. We're not going to give you the other ones, and you can't review those yet.
You can people specifically requested like PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. Like they were specifically requesting codes for.
Yeah, and then like also they couldn't use their own footage, and it was weird.
And then they said no, but yeah, and then they couldn't use footage that wasn't specifically like B-roll that CD Projekt Red had given them, not like stuff that they recorded on their own.
I can't believe people like agreed to that part of the embargo, but that's neither here nor there. So the game came out last week, and people went, "Hey, this is like buggy. That's that's whatever. These open world games, Bethesda games, etc."
Right.
But the performance, the quality of the PS4 and the Xbox One were such that people felt duped and misled, which CD Projekt Red later came out and said, yeah, we deliberately didn't show those versions of the game.
Yeah.
So,
which like you could infer, but I mean, like, yeah.
so people were very unhappy and
the
starting.
ways,
Oh yeah.
the ways in which they were fucked were very legitimate things to be unhappy about, though.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Right,
like,
like-
much more than open world jank. It's like taking minutes to load, and then like the textures pop like looking like PS1 textures, and then like
Right. And
crashing.
people were saying people were comparing it like to The Witcher 3's launch and how that wasn't, you know, that had bugs in it, but it's less like you
Those
know,
bugs
oh
were-
haha,
Yeah.
roach in sky versus, you know, this is like actual like
Game breaking.
large, like big scale, large scale.
They went from putting the horse in the sky to putting the car underground. I don't see what the issue is. So people felt misled, duped, and because this game was not what was marketed as it is on the PS4 and the Xbox One. It is not what they marketed, which big surprise at this point. There are new consoles out, but anyway. So people started asking Sony and Microsoft for refunds, and CD Projekt Red said, hey, we're going to put out some patches in January and February that are going to hopefully address some of your major concerns. And in the meantime, if you are unwilling to wait, you can go ahead and contact your retailer, the people you bought it from, whether that be Sony or Microsoft or the
Buy or
physical
whatever.
brick and mortar store
Yeah.
that you bought this thing from. You can ask for a refund. And
boy, did those retailers love that.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sony was like, no, what? Excuse me? Who?
Well, the way that they specifically said, hey, you can get refunds from these places, and did not, you know,
New phone, who dis?
yeah, did not like work with those retailers on getting refunds. So they're like,
We
Yeah.
talked about this last week because this had happened last week. By this time, I feel like
yeah,
maybe
Not this
I
part
feel like-
though, because like the screenshots of people like contacting Sony support, being like, "Hey, so CD Projekt Red said I could get a refund." Like that was this week, and
Yeah,
and
they're
then
just
Sony
like,
being
no.
like,
And Sony being
that's
like,
not part of our policy.
no.
We don't have the like as a support agent cannot do that. It's not in our system.
yeah.
So people were just like,
it goes like they have like specific anti-consumer refund policies in place.
"Yep,
It's like you can refund things, but it's like you can't have downloaded it. That
Oh,
you can
yeah, right.
pre-purchase,
Yeah.
you can't download. Microsoft is like, if you've played more than 2 hours, you can't refund, et cetera,
Yep.
et cetera. So
yeah, and
they're-
apparently on Steam, like there's a specific glitch where even if it was shut down, it would still
that
count
has
as
become
playing.
very like I got that with Assassin's Creed Valhalla like on the Epic Store, and I had it with like Metal Wolf Chaos on the PS4 last year. Like
Interesting.
so my
Yeah,
my playtime was up at like 48 hours, and I was like, excuse me.
Yeah, and I mean that's definitely happened for other stuff too, but that was like a specific like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't like I can't do the automatic, the easy Steam refund because
yes, because of
you know
these
because
issues.
of this glitch. Yeah,
So that's that stuff is like par for the course, and like it sucks, but that wasn't like a malicious thing, or that was just like a weird bug. So eventually then there was like some weird stuff in the middle where a game that was banned or like taken off sale in 2018
yeah, this is
from
like
a Taiwanese developer is coming back on sale called Devotion.
So the reason that's relevant is because it happened on GOG, which is also owned by CD Projekt, not CD Projekt Red.
Yes, yes.
But it's the same parent company.
yeah.
It was around the same time as all of this, like the refund thing that they put out. It was
Yeah.
like if it wasn't within the same day, it was like within the same 24 hours.
It was this
Yeah,
week
it
has
was
been a
like-
saga for that company.
Yeah. So
yeah, like they've been having all those issues, and then like the next morning they're like, oh, gamers requested that we take it off the store, and that's like bullshit.
yeah. So
we know exactly who requested that it be taken off the store.
Yeah, like Devotion is a game that did come out last year or a couple years ago. I can't remember, but
think
it's
it was
from a
20.
I think it was
Taiwan.
like a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's from a Taiwanese developer, and it's a horror game. that had some reference to Winnie the Pooh as a criticism of
Yeah.
Jinping.
And I think that was like just like
Was it
like a
even-
placeholder asset.
No,
Like-
it was deliberate. I remember reading about that
I don't
at
know
the
if it,
time.
I don't know
think
if
that
it
they were-
was.
I don't think it was
like
supposed to be in there.
I don't even think it was like explicitly like because of the people who made it and where like the region it's from, basically because it's from like a country that has issues with China. The inclusion of Winnie the Pooh could easily be seen as targeted at Xi Jinping, and why else would it be there if it weren't that like? But I don't think there was any like, oh, we're gonna sneak in a reference to Winnie the Pooh. It was just like, here's a picture of Winnie the Pooh in like a frame or something.
Yeah, but regardless, like, so
Yeah.
GOG, the company owned by CD Projekt, put it up and they're like, yeah, we're hosting this game. And everyone was like, oh, cool. This game got pulled from stores. We've been wanting to play it. And no one else would host it. So hurrah. And then within 2 hours, they're like, oh, yeah, we're... gamers have overwhelmingly messaged us telling they don't want us on the store.
Yep.
So we're removing it. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, and they specifically were like, gamers just asked us to not do this. I don't know, and it's like people have been looking through like the replies to the GOG like initial tweet, and it's like gamers weren't saying that. I don't know.
The gamers are upset. Well, you know who did hear from the gamers? Sony. They heard the gamers loud and clear. They said, we do not want Cyberpunk 2077 on the PlayStation. So Sony said, you got it, homies. And they delisted Cyberpunk 2077 from purchase from the PlayStation Store.
Until further notice.
They have a special refund policy.
Specifically,
Specifically only for Cyberpunk 2077. It just absolutely bonkers.
They made an exception to the rule, essentially.
They put up a statement at like 1 a.m. Poland time.
Yeah.
Which is like, So it was like 10 hours later or something, CD Projekt Red finally made a statement. So it's like in talks with Sony, like, were you in talks with Sony about this?
Yeah, was this
it
something that you were?
It came across, as Patrick Klepek put it, it came across as a big fuck you from Sony.
It really did.
Yeah,
like you're gonna tell people to like ask us for refunds. You're gonna overwhelm our support channels. Which, hey, your support channels need to be better. You need to not you need to give people refunds for things within reason. But yeah, you can still buy the game on PS4 at retailers like brick and mortar store, disc version, Amazon or whatever, but you cannot buy it on the PSN. Microsoft is until further notice. What if it never came back up on the PS4? They're just like, it's not coming out on PS4. It's not acceptable.
That'd be gnarly.
It is still available on Xbox. They have, I believe, I think, I can't remember which site I saw it from, but said there's no like conversation happening about like delisting it or anything.
It hasn't been clear, but they have also extended their refund policy specifically for Cyberpunk.
Yes.
Also until
but there's
further
no
notice.
as far as I know, there's no talk of delisting it from the Microsoft Store.
No, that hasn't been a thing. But
yeah,
they also, Best Buy has come out and said, hey, even with open copies of physical games, you can refund it here too if you want, because people have been requesting it. God damn, just leave us alone. And then yesterday, at the time of recording this, CDPR themselves came out and said, hey, if your store of choice will not refund it for you, show us proof and get back to us, and we'll refund it for you up until December 21st.
And then some people are mad that when they ask Microsoft or Sony to refund the game, that they also lose access to the game.
Like,
which is
that one doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous, but as someone who works in internet retail and sometimes touches CS tickets, it's extraordinarily common for people to expect that they won't have to return an item when it's like defective or something. Like they'll go like, oh, this item, this part of it doesn't work really well, so I'm going to need a refund. And then when you say, okay, we'll get an RMA to you, their response is like, well, it doesn't work. Why do I have to return it? And it's like, well, because we'll fix it and put it as a refurbished or something, and recoup some of the cost. And you know, like retailers like Amazon have definitely gone a long way, and like Amazon will say, well, we don't want it back. It's cheaper for you to just keep it. It's like, I think it has generated a mentality in people that like, if it's busted, you get to keep it. And in a lot of cases that comes from a place of like, well, this function doesn't work, but the other one does. So if I can get a refund and keep it, I can still use it. And it's like, no, it's fair to want a refund because the game's broken, but you don't get to keep playing it.
Yeah. It's shenanigans. It's the thing.
Its shenanigans could be this whole entire saga.
It has
It's
been.
not even the end of it.
Oh yeah, no.
It won't be the end of it. But yeah, so this whole fiasco has led to CD Projekt losing $6.6 billion in stock price or value on the market.
Yeah.
On the Polish stock market specifically.
Yeah. Like
is where they're listed.
6.6 billion in a week.
They were like the biggest tech company in Poland, I believe.
Yeah. And there was an article that came, or I don't know if it was an article or just a tweet or whatever that came out saying, oh, within the launch window, they've already recouped all their costs from development and marketing and all that stuff. And now it's just like, ooh.
Now it's just like, this is this is not good.
Yeah.
Yep. And then just yesterday, or there was a story from Jason Schreier, and God damn it, Jason, shut the fuck up sometimes, my guy. There was an all hands meeting where the staff got pretty upset with management and were like, excuse me.
They were hostile, apparently.
Like, this is on you, yeah.
And asking asking good questions like, hey, how are we making this game about like anti-corporatism while you're forcing us into these, you know, death march crunch hours? And you know, how are you making promises like, oh, the game runs great and the game's finished basically like in January when the game was very much not finished.
Yeah, and good. They should be doing that because like the on the ground developers are not to blame for any of this.
Oh,
like,
absolutely not.
It is 100% all the people at the top. Like,
yes, 100%.
I don't think if you are someone who is upset about Cyberpunk and PS4 stuff and all this whatever, which is valid, don't be mad at the developers or the QA team or like the artists or whatever. It's not their fault.
No,
QA team knows.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
QA team knows better than anybody.
They almost certainly, a lot of these issues were bringing them up, but you know.
Yeah, like QA probably has a list of all of these bugs and more that management didn't deem important enough to fix.
Yeah.
It is probably likely what happened.
Yep.
Known
shippable.
And it's not a time thing. It's a structure, management scoping, and I mean it's
it's a fundamental thing, which this brings me up to another bullet point we have here about the certification, where people were starting to get upset at Sony and Microsoft about their cert process and like, how could you let this through? And like, how could you let through a game that has all these bugs and is bad? How could you? How dare you? But that's not what cert is.
Yeah. Alex did a really good thread on the Fix Twitter account that specifically was like, this is what certification means. This is what they look for when they're certifying a game. Yeah. It does not mean that it's a good game or that it's even like necessarily playable, just that it's not going to like brick your console.
I do think if like given that information, if I was an executive at Sony, I would probably say we need to figure out a way to keep this from happening again because it's cost us a lot of money. And I might start developing, maybe not even call it cert, but developing a process by which to kind of weed out some of these really buggy games, to put like warnings on the store or something. Because I mean, definitely, I think whether it should be the responsibility or not, anytime you're selling a product to work on your hardware, like from a store that you are operating, there is a degree of like, well, I bought it from you and it's busted on your thing. It's
Yeah.
not their
Oh, totally.
fault, obviously, but it is interesting. I wonder,
They allowed it to be sold on their platform.
yes, I wonder if there will be wider ramifications and changes to the, not the cert process, I'm not even talking about that, but the wider process by which games get, you know, released for these consoles. Because it seems I would want to avoid this kind of thing again if I were Sony.
That's tough though. Like,
Yeah, it's hard because like the vast number of games that are released on every single year, it's like that's a big ask. And I mean,
Oh, I know.
it's
Yeah.
possibly
for sure.
it's probably an ask that should be asked, but my biggest concern would be towards like
Small
indie
teams.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smaller devs, like if
And-
by doing that then they go, okay, well, we're not going to allow, you know, these small
Yeah.
developers
I'm
to
kind
be
of
on
less
your
just saying
thing.
that I think there should be greater gatekeeping and more kind of musing on, I wonder if there's been a lot of talk that I've seen of like, well, maybe this will finally send a message to AAA studios. I don't think it will. I think this is going to be a drop in the bucket. I think that by this time next year, there will be another disaster game that has come out and done all of, maybe not to this degree, but has made a lot of mistakes again. And
Yeah.
people
I
will
like
be
the phrase
demanding refunds
disaster
for it.
game though.
But this is like pretty monumental in just how much
Yeah.
like how much
I don't know if it'll necessarily change AAA, but I do think that it will have a definite effect on like CD Projekt Red.
yeah, it's affected their
Sure.
reputation immensely in 1 week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
And it's
burned
like,
so much goodwill.
I
Right.
still,
And they had so much goodwill after Witcher 3.
Yep.
Like,
and maybe you'll be able to throw this on aged milk. I'm still positive that when they announce Witcher 4, everyone's going to freak out, and there's going to be a group of people that are like, but remember Cyberpunk, justifiably. I'm not saying that I'm but the wide thing angle. I mean, Sam said it in our chat was, well, I'd be excited about Witcher 4 because they haven't fucked one of those up yet. And it's like, when that gets announced, that's going to be the thing that saves, and no one's going to think about Cyberpunk for a little bit. No one. The wider public is going to be like, well, we'll give them another shot with Witcher 4. And
Yeah.
so I think
I don't know if I
happens over
100%
and over
agree, but
again.
we'll see.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
I could be wrong too, but
yeah, I think like something we've talked about among ourselves is that like the public has a very short-term memory. Like this is their window for playing it. This is their window for caring about it. So it's
Yeah.
entirely possible in 6 months, Cyberpunk 2077 will be everything it claimed
It'll
to
be
be
like,
and more.
yeah, right.
But like even when you saw people talking about, oh, you pre-ordered a game based on hype, look at No Man's Sky, and it's like,
Right.
well,
Well,
look,
people
you're also
are specific-
forgetting, like, yeah, No Man's Sky got way better.
Right. And people were specifically saying like No Man's Sky was trending on Twitter because people were saying like, wow, this wasn't even the case with No Man's Sky, which I think is like a false equivalency because I mean, No Man's Sky was absolutely playable on launch. It was just not the game that people wanted. But there's still like a really wide perception of that game based off of when it came out versus what that game has become.
I would almost say the discrepancies between the trailers that they showed for No Man's Sky and what that game looked like on PS4 on launch day are in the same ballpark as the discrepancies with Cyberpunk. Like,
I mean,
that game looked really bad on console at launch.
But it's like what,
I
what
still
it looks
agree
like
with you.
versus like playable. Like I played No Man's Sky on PS4 the day it launched, and it's like, you know, it might not be necessarily the game that people wanted, but it was still playable.
And I think the other thing with No Man's Sky is there was such a wide range of experiences you could get that, like, when I first rolled, it was not playable. It ran at 12 frames per second consistently.
Oh, really? Wow.
Completely unplayable because of the planet that I rolled. It had like stuff on it that was causing it to chunk up, which to my understanding is Cyberpunk's issue is that it's just the frame rate gets so bad. That's what makes it unplayable on previous
there are
consoles.
parts where if it's really busy, like even on my like 3070, it's just like, and we're down to like 15 frames.
So but I still agree with you that I think it's a false equivalency because I think with No Man's Sky, it was also a 12-person team. It was also a $30 game.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
It was 60.
It was 60, but
It was 60,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It was originally
But-
supposed to be a
and I
30.
believe
I
they also
pre-ordered
issued,
that.
they also issued refunds for it,
Yep.
if I recall at the time.
And I feel like the No Man's Sky team really did a good job of like bringing stuff to the game afterwards, which I mean,
have the
CD Projekt Red
yeah.
might do, but I
Right.
feel like they were specifically, you know, their messaging was always pretty much on the up and up, I would say. At least that's what I recall. Versus Cyberpunk being like, sorry, you're playing it on the old console. You know.
Yeah, I think there's a degree. I'm trying to tread carefully because I am not interested in defending CD Projekt in this scenario for any reason. I mean, they've just stepped in it all around. I think there is a degree of like with No Man's Sky, it was like it came out and there were lots of angry gamers. And then there were the people like me who had really come to like Sean Murray and stuff and the team over time from the updates. And I do think I have a bit of bias towards No Man's Sky because I found the team very personable. Right up until launch, there was not really any indication it was going to be as messy as the game was. And the response to it was to say, hey, we're sorry, we're going dark now for 6 months before we talk again, basically, which was smart, but they were pretty radio silent for a while versus with Cyberpunk. It's interesting because it came out, they had a legion of gamers to defend them, and then those gamers turned on them. And so now it feels like they're kind of getting it from both angles of people who all along were like, I don't like you because this game looks like edgelordy and I have justifiable reasons for having problems with the game. And so now I'm going to say, ha ha ha, look, you're fucked now. This is great. I love it. And then there's the gamers who are excited, who are saying, we're not defending you anymore because we're pissed at you. So they're just like, I think that's the even bigger issue here as opposed to things like Mass Effect and No Man's Sky is everyone's pissed off at them.
Because then like you are finding people with very justifiable reasons of like finding systems that are totally broken, like the driving or like the AI for driving, it's like they don't actually exist and stuff like that.
The cars disappear.
The pedestrians can disappear.
Yeah,
if you make pedestrians scared, if you like shoot a gun, pedestrians freak out, and then if you look away and turn back, they'll just disappear.
Yeah, stuff like that where it's like, okay, that's not a bug. That's
specifically. And there was a really interesting thread on Twitter where like that was talking about it, where it's like, wait, were the bugs just covering this up, especially for like reviewing, where people say, oh, the driving AI sucks, but that's maybe just a bug, or like you notice something, but you're like, oh, that's a bug that'll get fixed, but it's like a lot deeper and a lot more systemic.
That's the system.
What I will say is, you know, again, I do agree with you that it's a false equivalency to say it's the same as No Man's Sky, but I do think if you look at No Man's Sky, they didn't just fix bugs. That game today is it's basically like 2 or 3 sequels along. I mean, it's like a totally different game than it was then. And so I wouldn't be surprised if CDPR's management even considered saying, we know this game's pretty broken. They probably didn't think it was going to be as bad as it has been. I would assume they didn't, because if they did think that and they did it anyway, that's like, I don't know about Poland's laws, but that's criminal negligence of your company here. You can go to jail for like tanking your stock price knowingly like that here. But but I wonder if they knew it was going to be a mess and they said, no, it's going to be okay. We're going to do a No Man's Sky to it over the next 2 years, and then after that we can release a broken game forever, because people will go, oh, they'll fix it like they did with Cyberpunk.
Yeah, but people
I'm not saying they're right.
Yeah,
but I'm saying I could see that being their thought process. As a team.
Yeah, I just still don't think that people, you know, look at it that way. Like that people still think, oh, No Man's Sky, like that's a bad game.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of people have short memories, and I do think that in 2 years, there's going to be a lot of people, and I say this because I'm a person like this for No Man's Sky, who are going to go, no, it's really great now, and don't really talk about the issues that it had at launch. So
Sure,
I don't know.
or Fallout 76 is apparently having a similar arc.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red saw how well Hades was doing, and they saw like, oh, Ubisoft is doing a Greek mythology game, but we can't really fit that into Cyberpunk, so we're just going to become Icarus. Yeah. We're going to fly too close to the sun.
I think what I suspect this will have a larger effect on is more on the, and this I think is not going to be positive, is going to be more on the platform holders and retailers side, and it's only going to hurt smaller teams, because I think that they're going to be more skittish about projects generally and wanting to see more assurances. A company like GameStop, who is already in trouble, this is going to make them less likely to take risks on games that maybe look a little rough, because yes, it hits CD Projekt financially, but it hits all these retailers financially too. So it'll be interesting to see, and they don't have a short-term memory as gamers at large. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I don't know. Investors are stupid though.
Investors are, yes, but I mean more like the people that are in charge of customer service departments at Sony and stuff, who are going to be like screaming at their managers, and I don't even mean people that are like just CS managers. I mean like
customer service will remember that.
I mean people at the top of the chain, VPs and stuff are going to be saying, hey, we can't do this again.
Sean, what's his name? Andrew Ryan? No, what's his?
Andrew Ryan. Andrew Ryan will
remember that.
Andrew Ryan's going to make a new utopia for game development where you don't have to go through cert and you can just make the game you want to make,
and it's called the Ouya.
Exactly. Andrew Ryan's the Ouya. I don't know. I think it's going to be wild to watch the story. I'm almost more excited about the future of Cyberpunk now than I would have been. Not excited in the like, yeah, Cyberpunk, in the sense of I want to watch where all this goes.
Yeah. I mean, apparently they put out a patch yesterday that fixed some issues people were having, like the AMD stuff. Like, so they are making improvements.
The thing I continued to hear from reporting, like you would hear the stories of like the Death March crunching, which is awful. But then I would usually hear it tempered with somebody else who knew someone at CDPR saying like everyone's passionate about the product and the project. It's not like people are crunching and wish they could quit. I'm sure that those people exist, that exists everywhere, but that a lot of the people that were working on it, it was like kind of a labor of love, even if it was fucked from a management perspective. And so I would assume that there's passion behind it, as much as I hope that those people are being super critical of management, because they should be. Yeah. My understanding is there's a desire to for that game to be good.
There are good teams. There are good parts of the game. Like I feel like more positive on it than I did last week, where I was kind of like, yeah, it's fine. It's still not, the game they promised, I don't think, but there are shining parts beneath the turd that this is CD Projekt Red, pinched off. But
I think there's also opportunity for people to learn more about game development through all this too.
But they won't.
Like, no, I think you're right.
Absolutely not.
I don't think gamers at large will. I mean more people like me, where like and there were things like, there was the GIF going around that Kotaku was reporting on that was like, the player character is a monstrosity if you bug it out into third person, but that's what a first person rig looks like. That's
how it works.
That's what your Call of Duty character looks like in single player.
Seeing the shadows of my character sometimes, I'm like, I don't have any hair. Why am I T-posing right now? I have no head. What is going on? So you can look in the mirror sometimes, and I looked in the mirror, I was like, why is my hair gone?
That's weird.
I did not shave my head.
I believe the mirror is not rendering obviously it's not rendering the first person rig. It's not a real mirror.
No, it's not a reflection.
But it's, so sometimes like I am just like, what is going on here? But
I think with all this, I kind of landed on, I'm not really comfortable this game feels like an early access game to me, to the extent that I'm not really comfortable looking at it for game of the year for my own list. So I'm just kind of punting it, and I'll check it out maybe down the road when they fix it up some, and maybe it'll be a personal game of the year list game in 2021 or 2022.
Yeah. So Cyberpunk.
Yep.
That was the whole thing.
That was
they had a week. Yeah.
Okay, well, this is next news stories. we got a whole bunch of billions of dollars flying around in this new section, with EA swooping in on 2K and buying Codemasters.
This is $1.2 billion.
$1.2 billion.
I mean, I love Codemasters. I love the F1 games. But like, geez, that's a lot of money to spend.
That is a lot.
To make them make like a Need for Speed game.
Yeah.
Isn't good.
I assume they'll bring back, well, it could be. I mean, I assume that they'll bring back Need for Speed Shift and have Codemasters make it. That was their like sim racer. Could be. I mean, Shift is really good. The first 2 Shift games are awesome. And Codemasters has made great simmy, but a little arcadey. Yeah. The last Grid I heard was not very good, but in general, that's the reason why I'm surprised they paid so much for them, though, is F1 has been
put out like many like good games.
Not recently. F1 has been consistently great, but that's because F1 is very iterative, because it's a sports game essentially.
And EA loves sports games.
Yeah, I guess that's what they were paying for here mainly, was the F1 license and that series.
I can't imagine it's that lucrative.
I know, I'm with you, but
like the people who play those games will spend a lot of money to play those games, but it's not like the game, it's on like sim rigs and shit.
I just don't think that EA is foolish enough to spend that kind of money just because they played the last Grid game and were like, oh, this would be great with a Need for Speed name.
And,
I mean, it's
and off to make F1 and Frostbite or whatever.
Oh, I doubt that they're going to do that.
No, I think that mandate's over.
Because Jedi Fallen Order was not made in Frostbite.
But Respawn has always had like a pass, because like Titanfall was on Source and stuff like that.
But anyway, the thing that's interesting, I'm going to be really interested to see what this does to the F1 series, because you can't really monetize Formula One the way that, I mean, I guess you could. I guess what it'll probably be is there'll be an ultimate team mode, but the cards, instead of being players, will be like parts, like tires and brakes and stuff, because
energy drinks.
Formula One only has 20 drivers. That's it. There's 10 teams and each team fields 2 drivers. It's not like football where, or it's not like football or football where you have a team with like lots of players. It's pretty limited in scope in terms of the number of people on the field. So it's hard, like you're saying, it's hard to monetize that game. As I mean, this year they put in the Forza thing where there's like a podium pass where you race and you unlock cosmetics.
You can put anime girls on your F1 car.
Well, no, it doesn't have that kind of stuff.
Well, then what the fuck? What are we even doing?
That's what I'm saying. It's like helmets and suits. And
can I put anime girls on my helmet?
Probably, but I don't think there's a creator, and maybe there's anime girls in there. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's even less so than, at least in Forza, because there's such a range of vehicles, their like battle pass equivalent is fun to level through. In F1, it's like, okay, I got a new icon and a new helmet, which I'm never going to see. So why do I care? Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's a lot of money to pay for a good developer, but they've had a lot of duds recently, and I don't think the F1 games are that lucrative.
Know who else got acquired?
This one makes a lot more sense. Tencent, but Leiyu Technology, is that how you say that? Leiyu?
Yeah, I think Leiyu.
Lilu Multipass.
That's it. You got it.
Parent company of Digital Extremes. Yep. Makers of Warframe for $1.5 billion. That's like a day. That's like a day of Warframe revenue, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. But it is like the
these billion-dollar deals all
I
happening.
mean, honestly, Digital Extreme should be buying Tencent with the amount of money they make.
I did want to say the one angle that I see for F1 as maybe EA thinks they can make a shitload of money on is because of the nature of sim racing, you can recreate the experience much closer to reality than you can like virtually than you can with like other sports. So there's a pretty competitive e-league for F1, the game F1 that real Formula One drivers drive in. So maybe they see some angle there to make a bunch of money. I don't know.
Actually, going even back to that, what if, so, you know, Codemaster's done some license stuff. Instead of Need for Speed, they give them Star Wars and they make a pod racer game.
Ooh. Rebel Assault 3. No? Okay.
No, I'd be all for that. Are you kidding me? Codemasters made pod racing game. That'd be fucking awesome.
Anyway, that's enough for that.
Warframe is a good game, and it doesn't surprise me that they were purchased for that kind of money.
Yeah. Does Leyu Technologies do anything else?
They're probably just the name of the holding company. Like, it's probably just a liability thing.
Oh yeah,
to add a layer of ownership on top of.
Oh, so yeah, Leyu, like they're a Hong Kong based video game holding company.
Okay,
so they've got a Radius Maxima more.
I like Splash Damage.
Yeah, who didn't love Brink?
Idiots. That's who.
Dirty Bomb is that's the new.
I like Dirty Bomb as well. Actually, it's not as good as Brink.
Wolfenstein Enemy Territory
also was very good. I like everything Splash Damage has ever done.
Fair.
Okay.
Dirty Bomb is a Team Fortress alike.
It is.
And it's not incredible, but I like the way the characters look in it more than Team Fortress. So,
well, next news story. Speaking of Tencent, Riot just up and weirdly announced in a tweet that they're making an MMO. They're just like, hey, the guy who's heading the project is like, hey, we're gonna have a bunch of job openings and we're making a game that people have been asking for a long time. Someone said, is it an MMO? And they said, yep.
Yes.
So, okay. The League universe, but no real information besides that. They're hiring for that. So I don't know if you code, you can go apply to work at Riot, which maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you do. I don't know. I know some people work at Riot. They seem to like it well enough, but you know, there's still things to be critical of there too. So I don't know.
Yeah. Mostly on their PR and marketing side.
Yeah.
The lore
that whole
League of
thing
Legends and like they're like, we're gonna do a deal with the Saudi prince, and then I don't remember if they pulled out
because a bunch of their employees casters
were like,
excuse me, we're not gonna.
It seems like they're another instance of their management and marketing and PR are a nightmare. Then there's people making really good games still there.
Yes.
You know, so I don't know. I think I like the lore of League of Legends quite a lot. And if there was a really good MMO in that space, like that was set in that world, sure, that'd be really cool. Yeah. I think like we talked a little bit about this, but like I fell off of Legends of Runeterra because it's just not as good as Magic, which isn't really anything a knock on them. I mean, Magic's been being developed for 30 years, so it's understandable that it would not be as refined as Magic. So unless you're deeply into League of Legends, I don't see why you would play Runeterra over something like a Magic.
Yeah.
Because it's slightly less complex, but Runeterra is pretty complicated with card interactions. So I think if they make an MMO and it's not as good as World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14, it's hard to.
There's such a massive number of people who don't play anything but League of Legends.
It'll be successful. I'm sure it will be successful and competent. It's more like, will it be enough to interest people like me who like League but are not super invested in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because they've got they've got like over a decade of lore at this point, built up and like changed and stuff, characters and like history to like build from for the world. They've at least got that, because they've done like story stuff and like built up the world and the characters and kind of the mythology and stuff like that. So they have a solid like ground to start on.
They're probably one of the last few companies too that could just charge a subscription fee for an MMO and get away with it, and people would pay it.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Like, I don't think if they introduced a subscription fee, I think it would be like, fuck you, no. I don't think people would pay $15 a month to access Destiny.
No.
I don't think they will. I think they'll do the cosmetic thing.
Oh, you mean Riot?
Riot, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think it depends on what that game is, like what the nature of it is.
Sure.
I'm hoping that it's something a little different. Like, I'm hoping it's not just a hotbar based press the buttons game.
You'd hope at this point.
I like that in WoW, but they've just refined it so much in WoW that I don't want another one of those. It doesn't bother me as much that FF14 is that way, because it's more of it's practically a visual novel, right?
It's a little more dynamic too with its stuff.
I maybe later on, early on, you push attack.
No, early on, no, but like it's
and by early on, I mean for like the first 30 hours.
It depends on your job.
Totally, yeah, that's true too. But I guess what I'm saying is I think there's an opportunity there for Riot to make something like super interesting. But based on Valorant, I think this is going to be WoW with a League of Legends skin, which would be disappointing to me, but probably successful.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah,
especially with like people's reactions to the storytelling of WoW recently. It seems like it's not really hitting it for people, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. My partner is a huge fan and has been like riveted by the Shadowlands story, but I know that WoW is a weird one because it's got such a wide player base in terms of what people want from that game, that if the raids aren't very good, then people will complain about the story, because they're like just pissed in general about the game because the thing they like isn't there. So then they'll complain about the whole package. And it's kind of like, also they keep making Sylvanas a war criminal. Basically the Horde and WoW are just like irredeemable, awful bad guys now, which bothers Horde players, I think. And there's a lot of people who play Horde.
Yeah, Horde was very popular for like a very long time.
And it was always the like, well, they're actually like,
they're just people, just like everyone else.
Yeah, and now they're more like, no, the Horde are trying to commit genocide. And the Alliance are the clear good guys.
There was always like some ambiguity there, but now,
Anyway,
and then they'll walk it all back, and be like, oh no, we're all getting along because there's another interdimensional threat or whatever.
Which is what's happening in this expansion. That's kind of like where this falls in the storyline. Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of roguelikes,
Hades. They should make a League of Legends roguelike.
There's a roguelike dungeon in the new WoW expansion.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. But anyway, Hades finally getting cross save with the PC and the Switch version, so you can take that game on the go.
If I were traveling for the holidays, I would absolutely be buying Hades on Switch so that I can play it while I'm traveling. But since I'm not, I can continue to play it on my PC.
It happens.
But it's great that it exists, because
because hey, that's a great game.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be a game people are playing in 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, and I think it will be when.
I imagine they'll do some updates for Hades. I bet.
I don't know. They might. It's been so successful. You would think maybe, but they don't. They haven't really in the past.
I could see them doing like an expansion, like a,
Well, they do like pre-production on.
It would definitely be unprecedented, but
the other studio is so small.
It would be unprecedented, but they also have never had a game that has hit quite like Hades has. So who knows?
Not
they seem like a studio. And even Hades feels bigger than Bastion. Even
I mean,
Bastion, was
Bastion
big, for
came
sure.
out on like every thing known to.
Yes,
I feel like
humankind,
Bastion
but-
was specifically like, you know, like the start of the indie game renaissance, right?
Totally,
Where it was
yeah.
like
Huge
where it was like
game,
it was
hugely
right it was
important.
right at the start. It was like very big. But like I feel like Hades is expanding past that kind of indie
Yeah.
game audience.
That's
in
the
a
thing
way.
is Bastion to me felt like all of the like the people who played games. I don't even want to use the word gamers. The people that I knew who played games, everyone simultaneously was like, "Have you played Bastion yet?" Because it was like the talk of the town among people who play games. Hades is like people that I know outside of gamer circles who maybe have a Switch because they like Pokemon or something, but they're not really into games, have asked me, "Hey, is Hades? I've heard good things about Hades." It seems like it's like reaching a much bigger audience than their games have traditionally. So, but I think their team, part of what makes Supergiant so awesome is if they want to make more content for Hades, they'll make more content for Hades, and if they don't, they won't.
They won't. Yeah.
Yep.
They're so good at picking things that everyone is on board with. So
Totally.
yeah. Next game from them, Bastions with an S at the end. The sequel to Bastion.
But it's actually a visual novel about Overwatch.
Yes, with tower defense elements.
I would legitimately play a Supergiant tower defense game. That would
Oh,
be
yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't even
Honestly,
like tower
I'm at the
defense.
point where I'm like, whatever they do next, I'm playing it. You know.
I'm at the
but-
point where I need to go back and actually play Pyre and Transistor, which I
Oh,
didn't.
same. Me
I
too.
played each of those for like an hour or two and then didn't end up sticking with them.
All right, next story. Indie World stream. Nintendo did this, right? They just were like,
Yep.
"Hey, here's a bunch of indie games again."
Here's an indie stream at the end of the year. So yeah, did anybody else watch that?
I did.
I did not.
Cool. So
Mostly
it when
because
I'm
I knew
asleep,
that. Mostly
so-
because I knew the two of you would watch it and tell me about the cool things from it.
yeah, no, that's
Fair.
not. You're not wrong. Yeah, no. Yeah. So I think the two big ticket items for that stream were that both Spelunky games are going to Switch, which I feel like Spelunky on Switch is like such a
Seems
good
like a
match.
good fit. Yeah.
It's a good fit.
Spelunky 1 was transcendent on Vita, so
Yeah, it
of
was.
course,
That's
definitely,
where I played
it
it.
makes sense. Yeah, I mean,
Like I've only played it on PC, but now I'm just like, man, I can't wait to play Spelunky
Totally.
on the go. So
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
wish it had a better D-pad for
Yeah.
Spelunky,
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
but whatever.
yeah.
Life goes on.
And then also the other big one was that Among Us is coming. It came to Switch rather.
Yeah, which-
they shadow dropped it, which
Which I think is good, but I also think how are people gonna play that game with no voice chat or no text chat? Because the Switch isn't
yeah.
gonna have that
Well,
unless they join a Discord or something.
You can
Oh,
use a
God.
phone app.
yeah. They have the Nintendo Switch app on your phone that you can use to voice chat.
So,
Like, come
like,
on.
I think that's a weird platform for it, but it
weird-
makes sense. It makes sense for it to come
Yeah.
there. But
yeah.
Well, and I think what it's for is if you get 8 of your friends that have Switches together and everyone's playing it in the same room.
oh, that would be
Yeah.
What I
great.
would
Or
think.
well,
That'd be really rad.
yeah, because that's happening in 2020.
No,
Right.
well, sure, but I
But
think that's still the
you
use
get,
case.
you get on Discord with your friends or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
because a lot of these kids,
I mean,
the
I
market
Kids
for this
these
game, I
days-
feel like is a lot
I
of the
played a
market for
game
this game
this-
is going to be savvy enough to be on Discord and stuff.
I played a game this week that I'll probably bring next week, but it was a tabletop simulator mod for something, and my friend doesn't play. He has an Xbox, but he doesn't really play PC games at all. And he was playing on like a super old laptop that kept rebooting, so sometimes I'd have to take his turns for
Oh
him,
no.
so that we could play this tabletop game together. But we were chatting over Discord using his phone, so. I think there's plenty of situations, and he may even have a Switch. So I could totally see a situation where getting like that group of friends together to play something like Among Us and everybody jumping on a phone Discord call to play. It does kind of hurt the proximity thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
if you're playing it that way. Another
Right,
game that was
yeah.
announced that looked really fucking cool was that Cyber Shadow thing that's coming. It's
that's the new
published by Yacht Club, which is the
yeah, it's
Shovel Knight
published by
people,
Yacht
but
Club.
it's developed by Mechanical Head, who I don't really know.
I don't know either, but it looks super cool.
Badass. It's like a platformer-y kind of thing, but you're a ninja, side-scrolling-y kind of thing, and it just looks like it has really fast, fluid movement and potentially really awesome combat puzzle kind of thing.
Yeah, I was like, when I looked for that, I was it took me a little bit to go, wait, no, that is only published by a yacht club, because it looks very much like a yacht club, like a Shovel Knight type.
What was it called?
Cyber Shadow.
Cyber Shadow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it had already been announced before, but it was
It looks really
but it still looks really neat, and I'm excited about that.
I dig the art. The art's rad.
Yeah. The big game that I'm now just like completely hyped for.
Fisti-fluffs.
No, although that might be fun. Is Nausea?
Yeah.
Nausea.
Nausicaa.
Nausicaa. Yeah, it's Nausicaa.
Of the Valley of the Wind?
Yeah, it's just the movie.
Should make a Nausicaa game. Anyway, continue.
Nausicaa game would fucking
just
rule.
make it like anime Fallout.
It would rip. That game would be so good.
Ghibli Fallout.
Giant bugs.
But then make it like Breath of the Wild, like so that there's not. Anyways.
Okay,
now
tell me about Nausea.
Nausea is basically it's a lot of people were immediately making comparisons to Among Us, but it's basically like that kind of same of like Werewolf or Mafia, or kind of the you have to find the imposter among you. Yes, exactly. Which are the Nausea. And it's basically like a single player version of that.
Cool.
It's a visual novel. You do time loops, but like through the time loops, you start like kind of learning stuff about what's going on, about the overarching thing. It looks really neat. The art style looks really interesting. The characters look interesting. Apparently this was already released last year, I think, in Japan.
In Japan,
and it was released for the Vita, which is
how do you spell it?
GNOSIA. Which is why I've been like trying to figure out how to pronounce it best in English. But yeah, no, but it was apparently like it was released on the Vita in Japan last year, so it was a late game for the Vita, but it was a cult hit. It was really like critically lauded, and I think it's also like a really small team in Japan as well.
Yeah.
Like a few people working on this game. So I am just like unbelievably hyped for it. And I just went from like, I didn't know this game existed to like put this game on my Switch, in my veins right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really
so
cool.
It just seems really interesting.
If you want something to tide you over, I do recommend Raging Loop, which is also on Switch. It is basically werewolf, like just straight up with werewolves. But it is like
I will play that.
Yeah, it's good. It's also a visual novel. It's also that kind of stuff. It has a really interesting story. But I think it's more linear. Like this one almost seems like it could be like randomly generated, but I think
that's what it seems like.
It seems like, but I feel like maybe it is linear, but I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I don't know because it's like each individual game they say lasts like 5 to 10 minutes or 5 to 15 minutes, but then you just keep looping them and trying different scenarios out. So I don't know if it's I really have no way of knowing, but it's apparently it's been really, really
beloved,
widely lauded among people who are into it. So I'm really excited that it's coming to it's coming out in English and it's coming out on Switch.
It sounds a little bit too like the board game Tragedy Looper, which I don't think is in print right now, but it's an incredible board game.
It is a really good game.
Where one player plays a mastermind and the players play like detectives.
Wow.
It was designed by Bakafire, and it's like I think you would really like it, Allison. It has like it's a Japanese game that was published by a Western company, and it's like you loop these scenarios, and it's a bit kind of hidden role, but more as the players you're trying to figure out which of the characters is the bad guy, but it's not one of you. The bad guys are all controlled by the mastermind, and the mastermind like sets up kind of AI mechanics for them and basically as the mastermind player you build a puzzle for the players, and then the players have a certain number of loops to try to figure out the puzzle.
It's cool.
But it's very narrative too. It's a really good game.
And
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, and just the interesting thing is that the hidden role changes everything every single time, and there are certain times where you can be the hidden role too. So it's like
That's cool. That's
finding a way
awesome.
for a single player game to do that.
It seems
Yeah.
really
In an interesting way. So I'm I just like I went from like I didn't know that game existed to like this is my most anticipated game
Sure.
coming up.
Yeah,
So
the other one that hit for me that looked interesting, I'm hesitant to say excited for. We'll say cautiously optimistic is Happy Game, which
yeah, that looked interesting.
It looked very much like Botanicula kind of style, and I later found out it is the same developer. Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's like kind of it's so if you've ever seen Botanicula or any of those kinds of games where it's like a platformer but like with really bizarre kind of painterly art style that's like animated almost like stop motion and stuff like that. Generally they're adventure games, kind of like almost like point and click adventure games but more mechanically savvy. It's that, but it's like kind of like a psychological horror. It just kind of like in a Pony Island kind of way almost. So it seems cool.
that was definitely a vibe I got from it for sure. But it looked it is very striking, the visual style and the overarching aesthetic of it. So I'm interested to see. I don't know if I'll have it in me to play that one, but I'm interested to see more about it for sure.
Agreed.
Were there any other games that stood out to you from that?
There was fisti-fluffs, there was Calico, they were fine. I don't know if I'm super psyched about them. It's kind of a wait and see. There was the Alba, the wildlife thing.
Yeah, that looked cute.
Okay.
That looked interesting.
Super Meat Boy showed up.
It's on Apple Arcade. Alba.
Yeah, the other thing that was Apple Arcade that launched on Switch is Grindstone, which I enjoyed on when I had Apple Arcade, so I'm kind of considering picking it up for Switch.
Yeah,
I kind of burned out on it on Apple Arcade, but it's a really good game. It's just because at a certain point when you play those puzzle games for a long time, it's like, okay, I've had enough. But it's not.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
It's just I played it like constantly for a while whenever I had a free minute on my phone.
Yeah, I also like that Alex and I were both like Cappy, so
yeah, totally,
which is rad. But yeah, no, it's a cool game, and it's from what I've heard that the Switch version is quite good. So it's so I just like that. I just like indie streams, so I was happy to see that pop up this
cool.
year. Yeah,
I hope that we get like, there's a few places, Nintendo's one of them, that I also hope that EA does something with Star Wars soon, where we get like some more like new. I feel like I don't want to wait all the way until E3 for the next major drop of Nintendo news, even though I'm not the biggest Nintendo person. I think it's
you don't want to wait for E3 2022.
But like, I was thinking about it earlier before we started casting that like, I'd like to know what Star Wars games are coming, and I'd like to know when Breath of the Wild 2 is coming.
Well, I told you, Pod Racer.
Please.
By Codemasters.
Look, because we're about to wrap up, I'm just going to say this out loud because it's important. It's absurd that there is a show like The Mandalorian that exists, which has a couple of real shitty people on it, but damn, the season finale made me cry last night.
I rewatched the first episode of season 1 because I'm rewatching season 1 before I get into season 2, and like a Mandalorian game. Why don't we have that, please?
It's called Bounty Hunter on the GameCube.
Even if it wasn't based on the Mandalorian, it's just wild that this thing that is like back to the roots of Westerns and samurai films that Star Wars is kind of built on in a way. It's like, how is it that there hasn't been? It's like the most popular media franchise in the world, except for maybe, or at least in the Western world, except for maybe Marvel. And there hasn't been a Red Dead 2 quality, like,
because EA doesn't think those games sell.
No, you're totally right. I understand mechanically why it's the case. I'm just saying that it's a cosmic injustice that doesn't exist.
It should be illegal.
Yes,
just like the Call of Duty stuff.
EA should be forced to buy
I thought you were making a Star Wars Episode 1 reference there.
Oh, no, that would have been better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just bizarre that like EA has this license that you think
They
like
do
there's just been like a real resurgence of Star Wars fandom, you know, with the release of the recent movies, and
People
then
are
now the
forgetting about Rise of
Mandalorian.
Skywalker.
I've seen that. I've still only seen that movie once.
Me too.
yeah.
I saw it
I'm
once and
gonna
I was just like,
say-
nah, I'm good.
I'm gonna say, I think The Mandalorian and other properties are going to make that movie seem less bad retroactively somehow, because I won't get into spoilers,
Oh fuck.
but season 2 of Mando, there's a little bit here and there of like them poking at justifying some of the dumber stuff in Rise of Skywalker, and it actually isn't bad the way that they talk about
Oh my
it.
god.
Cool.
But like it's
I
just,
don't want to spoil like Mandalorian things, but there is just like a joke
Baby
I really
Yoda
want to
upskirt.
make. No,
Yeah.
but Baby Yoda brought back Sheev.
but it's just like bonkers to me that they're like not capitalizing on this like super lucrative license that they have.
They put out Squadrons, which sounds like it's pretty good, but like it's not hitting the stuff that people are most excited about right now.
I mean, yeah, like they've put out certain games, like they've put out that they've done Battlefront, they've done, like they've done some stuff, but it's just wild to me that they aren't like fully going like in on it.
And I have a new flight stick that should be arriving Tuesday that I'm going to put through some paces with Squadrons. The issue with Squadrons is it's really well made and it's a really cool game. But when my friends and I got into the multiplayer, we were like, oh, this is hard.
Yeah.
This is like challenging and we're bad at it. And I'm not having a good time because I die a lot because I'm bad at it. And so it's not the game's fault, really. It's just that like it's tough because it's an arcade flight sim, but it's still simmy. So yeah, but they put B-Wings in it. So
it's
game of the year, baby.
Simi-in.
B-Wings are like super rad.
B-Wings are my favorite ship. And I was trying to explain to my partner, who has only gotten into Star Wars over the last couple of years, why B-Wings are amazing.
Listen,
and she was like, what does it do? And
They
I
look
was like,
cool.
the wing rotates around the cockpit. What more do you need?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, wouldn't
It
the
looks
cockpit
super
just rotate
uneven,
'cause
but
it's
in an
space?
interesting way.
Yeah, it's asymmetric. More asymmetrical spaceships.
Yeah, no, it looks so good.
Yeah.
You look at it and you go, oh man, that's a cool
In
ship.
Squadrons, if you hold down the left bumper, you can rotate the wing around the cockpit.
Oh my God,
I don't know what purpose that serves in that game, but it
I
actually does it.
Squadrons? Oh my God.
I'll play it with you with my
Women
flight stick.
TIE bomber pilot.
Oh, I am like honestly tempted. What if this is what gets me to get into like racing games? It gets me like a flight stick and stuff. It's just because I need to play this game.
If Pod Racer does happen again and you can use 2 joysticks
Holy
with it,
shit.
I will
Holy
absolutely
shit. That's
buy
the
a
only
second
thing I want
joystick
now.
to play it.
Pat, you say this and now it's like it's in my head.
I have a throttle here that like looks like a pod racing controller. I mean, it could just be. I could get another one.
They could just give
Episode
a
1
second
Racer
one.
is so good.
Yeah.
All right.
There's
Well,
mods that would let me do that now.
probably you could do anything on the PC.
Exactly.
All right, a couple more stories here.
Like playing Cyberpunk 2077.
Barely. Polygon had we talked about it a couple times, their big fundraiser for the Innocence Project, and they raised $120,000 for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there because I that's why I missed the podcast last week, was that I stayed up too late watching the streams, and they just did a really good job and raised a lot of money for charity. Their original goal was $10,000, so
Yeah, that's insane. It's great for them.
yeah,
for the
so they raised way more than that for charity, and it was generally a fun time. I hope some of the the stuff goes on demand, but I don't know if there will ever be a moment as like weirdly surreal and transcendent as watching Brian David Gilbert play Hyrule Warriors and listen to like the dumbest clown music on stream. That was honestly like one of my highlights of the year, honestly, just because it was just like all of the people who are on the stream. It was like at 2 a.m. my time, so it was like 3 a.m. Eastern, and we're all just like, what's happening right now? And then I'm like wondering, what does it say about me that I kind of dig some of these songs? So you know, that's where we're at, but it was an experience.
Next story from Polygon.com.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Switch, Nintendo is actually tackling one of the problems with the Switch eShop, which is that the bestseller and like the hot deals tab is just overrun with these games of dubious quality for like pennies.
That's generous. Dubious is generous for some of these.
Yeah.
Basically, like the way people will do it is they will set their price higher than it should be and then give it a massive discount to the price it should be, and then that makes it show up higher.
But often that price is a penny.
Like a penny or like 10 cents. So you'll look at the bestsellers and it'll be like the one that I remember keep seeing, like I saw like 20,000 times, was Quest for the Golden Duck.
Oh yeah.
And it was
Did you play it?
No.
Maybe it's a game that we don't know. We can't judge games we haven't played.
Looks like it's a looking it up, it looks like it's like a Pac-Man clone kind of.
Pac-Man's good.
I mean, Pac-Man's good. Yeah. But like
if Pac-Man came out in 2020, it would probably be on our game of the year list. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, no, Pac-Man's a good game. But it's like but there's yeah, so you'd look on the best of the bestseller list and the
Pac-Man
great deals
99.
list, and there would just be shovelware. Whereas there's now still, like, looking through the Switch eShop right now, like there's still some games where I'm like, I don't know, but about what that would be, but it looks a lot better and a lot more
that's good.
like higher quality games on the
now games
deals.
Games that are below like $1.99 are kind of like there's like a check, like, hey, wait, what is up with this game? Should it actually
and I still see a game that's there for $1 on the great deals page, but it's like if it's like under $1.99, it does seem like there's like some check.
There's a buffer, and there's like they check and they're like, okay, we feel okay putting this forward.
And now, I mean, part of that is now that there's just a lot of games that are $1.99 on the best deals thing, but it's a lot more workable than it was before. So I'd say a definite win, because some of the times browsing the eShop were just like, I have to like sift through all this trash.
Who would have thought that Nintendo would have the Steam problem?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if I would have thought that either, but
I'm not surprised.
I mean, like from like a tech, like from a practice standpoint, I'm not surprised, but the fact that they like have allowed so many of these games onto the Switch is what is surprising to me, I think.
Nintendo seal of quality.
Yeah, exactly. It used to mean something. Now it's just Quest for the Golden Duck.
Yeah, but now it's I think like a lot more workable. So that's good, because I as mentioned, I play most of my games. Not maybe most, but I play a lot of my games on Switch. And I like to browse the eShop, and sometimes it was just not fun to browse the eShop. So
yeah, it's hard to find. It was hard to find things.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
And our final news story this week. Y'all have your phones?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Diablo Immortal is out.
It's not true.
In Australia.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So.
Yeah.
And
a limited market. It's a soft launch.
Yeah.
But if you're on Android, you can just like
change your region. Yeah.
But you just make an account that says you're in Australia.
My understanding is it's basically a beta anyway. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
You got to get in there early.
It sounds like it's good. That's what I've heard. The surprising thing is I've heard it's quite good, which is great. I'm excited to play it if it's good. I was worried it was just going to be a reskin of that studio's other game, because that's what it looked like early.
Right.
But
Yeah.
people seem very excited about it from what I've seen.
I imagine Sam is going to play a lot of that.
It doesn't have controller support apparently, which blows.
It's a beta.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
but
yet.
they've said what they
Oh.
have said is that it will not support controllers.
Dang, that Razer Kishi you bought is just
Thankfully, I've gotten a lot of use out of it, but it would have been nice to get a little more use out of it with this game.
that's weird. I don't know why they do that, but okay.
I think part of it is balancing where they want it to be played on a phone screen because they're balancing content for people playing on a phone screen.
Cowards.
And I agree, but they want you to pay money for things as you play it, and they can better control your desire to do that if they make everyone use the same interface.
Yeah.
It sounds negligible, but I bet when you blow it out to like 10 million players, suddenly it becomes like, no, it probably makes sense to make sure everyone's using the same thing so we can target paid content to people.
Yeah.
Because that game's going to be microtransaction to hell.
Nah.
Their answer to the will there be microtransactions was that was actually not intended, but their answer to the will the game include microtransactions was like, we're focused on building a great Diablo experience first. And it's like, that's not an
That
answer.
doesn't answer anything.
So the answer
Real
is yes.
money auction.
You're gonna
house.
ask me. I'm gonna play for 20 minutes, and you're gonna pop up a thing that's like, for $20, we'll give you this, and you can only buy it right now. Don't close the screen. Give us $20.
God. Yeah. I guess we'll play it and find out.
Yeah,
It'll
we'll
give
see.
you like a little goblin, a little Deckard cane, and
Extra bag space.
little Deckard cane, extra bag space, and like a halo or something.
A Master Chief?
Yeah, in Fortnite only though.
Sick.
And that is going to do it for news this week, everyone. Unless anyone has anything else they'd like to share.
Nah. Happy holidays.
Yeah. Hanukkah's over at this point,
Yep.
but
Yeah, it was the 18th it ended.
happy late Hanukkah to our Jewish listeners.
I think
Merry
we called-
Christmas.
I think we also called it out last week.
We
Hanukkah,
called it
okay.
before Hanukkah.
Oh, yeah, okay,
we called it the week before. I don't think we said it last week,
Yep,
which
and the week
are
after.
bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you got to get both sides. You know, in the middle, it's messy. Merry Christmas to those who are celebrating Christmas, and happy holidays and other festivities that you may be celebrating.
I had a package that said it was arriving yesterday, and then I clicked the tracking and it said that it was delayed, and now it's not even on arriving soon today.
Nice.
Hopefully
Yeah, I
you
feel-
shipped your gifts to your friends and family early.
Yeah, I imagine this year in particular, our lovely mail carriers are swamped.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
So thank you to them.
The postman, the emergency medical services, the fireman, the Walmart employees, and the weed man. Thank you. This has been episode 152 of the Gaming Fix podcast on December 19th, 2020. You can find the podcast on your social media channels like the Twitter @FixPodcasts, or on Twitch at Gaming Fix, FixPod. I don't even know.
Nope,
I don't
you
even
had it.
know. Got it in one. You can find me, Andre Cole, on AKA your partner's favorite reindeer.
Reindeer.
I got there. This website I was looking at, it goes into like, are you like a dasher? Loves to be social, good at sports, prefers track and field, doesn't mind the cold, aware of fashion, loves to party, happy, has a big heart. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter, where I will be assigning reindeer to to my beloveds shortly at coolsl COOLSL4W. Allison, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at WRIGERSERENYTY.
Pat.
You can find me at the San Francisco Zoo with my favorite reindeer, Peppermint. Not actually, though, because travel's really dangerous right now. Maybe in 2021, I'll get to visit Peppermint, my favorite reindeer. And you can find me at PJC Plays on Twitter.
And Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me on episode 2 of Coding Fix, which went up this week.
Nice.
Which now has its own email address, coding@fix.space, if you ever want to get a hold of it.
Nice. And you can email this podcast at gaming@fix.space with all of your gaming questions. Oh, homework. I want to hear from you next week. I remembered. What sort of game would Santa and his elves make?
They would make?
Yes.
They
If
would make that-
Santa were to force his elves to death march for 1 year to create a video game, what game would they come up with?
It would be that Santa Elf Bowling from Flash games from like the late 90s.
No, it'd be Satisfactory.
Yeah. Anyways,
In
homework.
fact, maybe they are working on. Maybe that's, I don't know the people.
Have
who
you
make
ever seen the
Satisfactory.
developers for Satisfactory?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that Zachtronics?
No.
Oh, okay, it's not Zachtronics. It's Zachtronics-like.
Hey, yeah,
I don't think
kind
there's
of.
solitaire in that game.
Coffee Stain Studios.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
They made Goat Simulator.
Oh.
what?
Cool.
Okay. Sure.
And I Love Strawberries.
Yeah, I do too.
And Sanctum. Sanctum
I-
was their actual bigger,
I was at Costco today and they had pomegranates, but they were like 6 for like $20. And I was like, I can't eat 6 pomegranates.
Think about all the upgrades it would give you.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'd have some sick ass boons.
You just interesting mix of ways in which Persephone and pomegranates have been portrayed in video games over the last couple years. Anyways,
be well,
Goodbye,
y'all.
everybody.
Bye.
enjoy the holidays. So long.
Bye.